morning, that means you're feeling the vibe. Feel that? The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul Sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the Just Knicking It weekly show. The Knicks season is finally over, losing game 6 in Miami in the Eastern Conference semifinals. You know, the Knicks had a successful season. Obviously, they exceeded expectations, but still, as Ajay will say once he gets on, there was a path forward, you know, and the Knicks just wasn't able to do it. I know as Knicks fans, some of us are still hurting. I think I'm kind of back to myself now, but it took a few days. It was great covering this team this season. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun doing these shows on this channel and various other channels, you know, meeting people from the chat at the watch parties, other NBA events. I had a ball. Now we're heading into the offseason. I think the front office has decisions that they need to make. I dropped another audio podcast on the Just Knicking It audio podcast. So wherever you get your podcast from, check it out. And I basically talk somewhat about what we're going to talk about today, what I think the Knicks need to do in the offseason, but it's based on the question, does this team as presently constructed have a championship ceiling? And if you believe this team, if you just leave them together, will grow into a championship contender, it's not a lot of changes you need to make, right? You're just banking on that internal growth. But if you don't, there's some changes you need to make. And I'm not saying you got to make all of them this offseason, but you got to start. Brunson needs somebody to run with him. Anyway, shout out to everyone who supports the channel, who supported the channel. I think this was my first year. Yeah, this is my first year doing the morning show. I got a lot of support. The channel grew. Obviously, you can't grow the channel without the panel. But also, you can't grow a channel without the people in the chat, the replay gang, people liking the videos, people leaving comments. That's how you grow. You know, that's how you grow a channel. So I appreciate you guys. Those who want to be Patreons, $5 a month. So I don't have to pay for everything to keep these shows going. That link is in the description. And of course, downloading the audio podcast helps support the channel as well, because it allows me to still connect with you guys when I'm traveling. I do a lot of traveling. I'm supposed to go to Morocco in October 22nd, and I'm like, oh, that's the preseason. I don't know if I can make it. Then I got another one to go to Egypt next year in April, like the 20th. I'm like, oh, that's the playoffs. Anyway, I'll figure it out. But having an audio podcast does give me an opportunity to kind of stay connected to you guys when I'm not here. Anyway, let me bring in the panel. I got Jarrell, who's been here from the beginning, Jeff Claff, who just snuck from the chat into and becoming a regular, Jay Boogie, and of course, resident panelist Ajay. Fellas, how you doing?
Awesome. Salute, everybody. Salute to the chat.
I'm great, man. I'm great.
Salute, Queen, panel, chat. My guys. Lady.
What up, Ajay? What up, Jarrell? Yes, what's up, Gino? What's up to the missus, the queen?
Word. Appreciate you guys. Now, listen.
We appreciate you, sir.
Oh, I'm glad. I love the energy on this show. We're gonna be talking about a lot. We're talking about Tibbs. If anybody Me and Freezy did our midday collaboration that happens every Thursday around 12 o'clock. Freezy and I in the neighborhood. We alternate between channels. We did a show this morning or this afternoon. Check it out. It's on Blanche Tears. Great show. Freezy. Listen, for everybody who wants Fit Tibbs gone, listen to that show. You got a friend in Freezy. Trust me. He took me to task earlier today. This is our first show, and I know some of you may be burnt out talking about the season, talking about the playoffs, but this is actually for the Dope Soul family, the Just Nicking It show. This is our first time meeting since the season ended. So hopefully, probably be the same questions, but different perspective. All right. So before I get into, we're going to talk about Tibbs, whether he should be, I'm just getting straight to the point. Should Tibbs be fired? Should we move on from Randle? Does RJ Barrett have the, as well as he played in the playoffs, does he have the skill set we need at that position? We'll talk about Quickly's extension. We'll talk about, do we need another point guard other than McBride? Because remember, when Brunson gets hurt, Quickly moves up. Who's the backup? Those 3 minutes we had to go to McBride, and we could talk about whether or not Tibbs should have went to him in Game 6. And it's not all on McBride, but I think Tibbs put him in a tough position. He was never the lead guard, right? He was always in there with another ball handler, particularly Quickly. And for the first time ever, he goes in as the lead ball handler with the Bam Bam crew, like players that just can't shoot. Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin was probably the only consistent shooter, and Mitchell Robinson. I digress. We'll talk about, whether or not we need to shore up the point guard position. So we got a lot of things we need to talk about, but I'm going to start simple and ask the panel. You can answer one or both of these questions or just one or the other. How do you sum up the season and or the postseason? And then another question, if you choose to answer it, it's up to you. What stood out for you, player-wise or coach-wise, during the postseason? All right, Jarrell. Jarrell always went like, I'm gonna keep it short. Nah, you ain't gotta keep it short. I'm
gonna keep it short, man. We got 5 people up here. The season was obviously a success. Like we exceeded expectations. It was a disappointment for me though, because even though our expectations were low in the beginning of the season, like once the circumstances change, your expectations change too, at least for me. I really thought we should have beat Miami. We just didn't show up. Like it's not like I didn't want to give Miami credit. Yes, they beat us. They're a hard-nosed veteran team. But I really think we had a shot to beat them, and we just didn't show up. So that was a disappointment for me. The ending was a disappointment. But on the flip side, I still think it was a successful season. When it comes to Tibbs, you and I will talk about Tibbs later.
Unless you want to talk about, what stood out for you, and you want to talk about Tibbs, or you could do that, or you could wait till that segment. It's up to you.
Yeah, real quick, what I like about Tibbs that in the beginning of the season, I don't know if people remember, but like at one point we was below 500 after like 20-something games, right? I remember we was 10-13, and then we went to that. Everybody was talking about Tibbs was on the hot seat, but then we went to the West Coast trip. And I think we won like 4 out of 5 or something like that. Like we came up, and ever since then we went on a run. We was like an inconsistent young team that went on runs, and that was kind of predictable for me because we're a young team. But I like the way Tibbs has the locker room. As much as I hate some of the bonehead stuff that I think that he does when it comes to his choices. Especially, I guess we will talk about the last game because we haven't talked about it since we've been here. But he sat Randle and Jalen Brunson down at the same time. I didn't like that. That right there almost damn near ruined every good thing that Tibbs did the whole postseason. I was up there cursing at him on my TV. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Tibbs had our young guys playing for each other, or we wouldn't have came back from 10 and 13, and especially when Josh Hart got here. He was a big part of the season. I think he turned things around when he got to our bench. And obviously, I'll go to the playoffs. I don't know. I don't want to say that Randle is not ready. I don't want to just emphatically say that, but he obviously has some type of problem. It wasn't about his ankle. I don't know what was wrong with him. Every time they zoomed in on him, he looked dumb in the face, like his allergies was acting up. I don't know what was going on with him. So that was disheartening because I really was looking for Randle to shut people up, and he didn't. That was a huge disappointment for me too. So that was pretty much about it.
All right. Jeff?
Well, Knicks Nation, I'm going to tell you what. I got joy in my heart that cannot be squelched by all the Miami cheat moving screens. I got joy. I got joy in my heart, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this was the 77th season of New York Knickerbocker basketball. And in those 77 seasons, we qualified for the playoffs 44 times. We've played in 383 playoff games in team history. During that time, a New York Knicks player has scored 30 points in a single game 90 times. And this all is according to statnews.com. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. So of those 90 times, that's 22 players on that list. Now, most of those players you've probably already heard of. The three that I wasn't familiar with, and if y'all know them, please educate me, were Stan Stutz, Vince Varilla, and Connie Simmons. All three of them were from the 1950s, okay? Now, besides those three, there were 9 other players, other than those I just mentioned, that scored 30 in a playoff game one time. Dick Barnett, the great Dave DeBusschere, a Hall of Famer, Bob McAdoo, also a Hall of Famer, Johnny Newman and Jarrell Wilkins, believe it or not, Derek Harper, John Starks, Stephon Marbury, and Derrick Rose did it a couple years ago. Those are all the people who have done it one time. And in Marbury's case, he played 45 minutes in that game, and he got his 30 points on 26 shots. Okay, he was -9 in that game. Okay, stick with me. I know this is coming to a point, I promise. Okay, so now we got our guys who did it 2 times. Carl Braun, also from the 1950s, at least a name that I recognize from the 1950s. Cazzie Russell, Earl the Pearl Monroe, all had 2 30-point games. Now, every other name on the list, except for one, has done it 5 times. You got Allen Houston, and you got Latrell Sprewell. I think everybody knows who they are, right? They did it 5 times each. Then you have Walt Clyde Frazier, easily the best point guard in franchise history. He's done it 9 times, okay? And then we had our 2 NBA scoring champions, Carmelo Anthony and Bernard King, only 2 in franchise history. They both did it 10 times, believe it or not. Both of them did it 10 times. Then we had the captain, Willis Reed, who did it 12 times. And then Patrick Ewing did it 18. Do you know the name that's missing from that list of the other 21 names that I named? Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson exploded for 30 points on 4 times in 11 games. That's top 10 all time, and he's only the second point guard to do it. And the other one is Willis Reed. Now, for the playoffs overall, he averaged like 27.5 points per game. And the reason that I'm so excited is because we have a superstar, ladies and gentlemen. When you have someone who does that on the grandest stage and does it consistently, this isn't Johnny Newman, getting hot for one game. This is a guy doing it consistently, game after game after game after game. That's someone that you can build around. That's a superstar. That's a rock. That's an anchor. And that's something that Knicks fans haven't had in a long time. And the best part about it is he's on the best value contract in the NBA that's going to allow us to bring in better talent around him. He's being paid half of what a max player typically is right now. And that's the kind of flexibility when you have that kind of player making below market value. That's the kind of player that championships are built around. And so were there coaching mistakes in this series, in the Miami series and this season? Absolutely. Do we have a clunky fit between Randle, Barrett, and Brunson? Absolutely. But I'm here to tell you today, in my entire life, I have never been more excited about a Knicks future than I am for this team right here. Not ever.
All right, Jeff. Talk that talk. Appreciate you. Boogie? And I agree with you.
Salute to capital essence, blessings, health, happiness to everybody. Hope everybody by this day, right this time, right now, you're in the greatest form of health. Also pray that anybody that's going through anything, we don't just pray that you go through it, we also ask that you get through it. We pray for you, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to this great panel, and shout out to the queen. First time aboard running her own show this season coming in, and she had a hell of a season. She had the longest playoff run out of anybody I don't see. A lot of people can't say when they came in, you know what I'm saying, they went straight to the playoffs, straight to the second round. I'm just going to feed off what my man Gio was just talking about. There's no need for me to, sidetrack or just go in a different direction from where he just took it. So I'm just going to feed off of that, because I do remember at this point in time sitting here right here last year, not on this podcast, but in the same position, thinking, yo, we got to get a point guard. We got to have somebody. We got to bring somebody in. And what did Leon Rose do? He went and got us a point guard. He went and got us a general. He went and got us a floor leader. He went and got us somebody that's built for the city, built for the big lights. And when he got him, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I got him now. That's the first step. The second step, let me see, can you handle it? And he starts showing that he can handle it. Third step come around, can you lead us to the playoff? He did that. Fourth step, can you handle us in the playoffs? He did that. He handled all situations that Leon Rose asked for that can allow him to go and want to build around this dude. So I'm with my man Gio along with that, man. I just saw a beautiful season, because one, we went and got a point guard, a leader. I just watch us, just shake off all the doubters, the ones that said we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. How about this? When they said we couldn't win at the crib, we finished above 500 at the crib. How about we went 500 on the road? How about we went 500 during the playoffs? Everybody said 37 games, 40 games, 42 games. Some said 50 burgers. How many people said we was going to win 6 games in the playoff? So it's a whole lot for us to be sitting here and feeling good about. I feel good and great about the whole season. I looked at last night. I looked at, Jason Tatum. I said, wow, Eric Spoelstra just clamped him in the fourth quarter. How about he didn't never clamp our man? He never stopped Jalen Brunson. Anytime you go against an elite, super mega monster coach like Eric Spoelstra, a general on that sideline, and there's nothing he can do with you, period, I'm going with my man. We got a superstar over here on our team. All we got to do is put the right pieces around this guy. This guy is a superstar. He don't hit all the buttons. He don't let everybody know that I'm here. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm not scared of the big moments or anything like that. So yeah, it's a big situation with us as far as going to get Jalen Brunson. I'm cool with what happened as far as with the playoffs and everything, because some people, when they get on the Escalade, they want to just stand there and let the Escalade lift them up. Me, when I get on the Escalade, I'm still stepping up. I'm still climbing. I know I still got to reach somewhere. So this is what's happening. We got to reach a certain point, and before us get to that point, you got to get a couple of knots upside your head. And that's what, the Miami Heat did. They gave us some knots. Everybody talk about, oh, man, they got dudes that's undrafted, dudes that ain't even make it in the second round or nothing like that. But them guys, have playoff experience. Don't forget, a lot of them guys, they played in the bubble and they played against the Lakers. They made it and learned and understand what it is to play playoff basketball. And then here they are playing on big stages. It's not easy, you know what I'm saying, to go against go against Milwaukee. They beat Milwaukee one year. Milwaukee come back and beat them. Now they came right back and they just beat Milwaukee. They know how to play on the big stages and everything. So we played against some guys that knew how to win, know how to go hard, and we don't know how to do that yet. Not only, you know what I'm saying, on a 48-minute level, but the thing is, we got a point guard that everybody's talking about, everybody feeling good about, the league talking about him, the announcers talking about. So when they talking about him, guess what? We got something brewing, you know what I'm saying? And I'm real happy about the season. Thank you, New York Knicks, for the season that you gave us. You went far as you can go because you don't know what it takes to get to where you went. You haven't been in that situation yet, but now you understand what it is to be in that situation. And what's better than for me to say, I got a leader at that point guard. So now we got somebody that we can build completely around and somebody that everybody feels good about, man. Celebration for the New York Knicks, celebrating for all the podcasters. Everybody gave a great season. Celebrate to all the panels, celebrate to all the channels, man. I just watched this with an enormous season, man. So the 50th anniversary, also the 50th for the 1973. I just watched a lot of great situations. So I refuse myself to even allow myself to talk anywhere to bring that down. Because now only thing I want to see is the guys. It's the on season. The game just ended the other day. That means it's time to work. It don't mean it's over. It's just starting right now. Thanks. Blessings to everybody.
Yeah, no doubt.
Queen,
thank you for that.
How am I supposed to follow Jay Boogie?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do the best you can. That's what we do.
Can you swap? Can you put Jay Boogie? Can you put Jay Boogie with Staffa on this?
Right.
Let Jay Boogie go last, man.
That's why I'm glad I go first all the time. I just be chilling.
Well, Queen, of course, salute to you. Salute to this wonderful panel in Knicks Nation. You know, the greatest nation in all of sports. I don't care what anybody says. Listen,
Amen.
this season was an absolute success. I don't care who. I don't know. I don't even want to name names. The media people. This was an absolute success. Not only because nobody expected the Knicks to get where they got, but
there's an echo. Somebody has their speaker on. So whoever is speaking is coming through twice.
Yeah. Not me. I got the headphones, so
yeah.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, and we listen, nobody expected us to get there, to get to where we got. And yeah, I could still hear the echo.
Okay, try it again.
Right. And then and you know, as a fan, it's, you know, like Jay Boogie mentioned, like Jarrell and Jeff, like I'm happy to see the Knicks, like to see where we are. Not only we're here, but we have a bright future. It's not like this is the end of this group. This is just the beginning of this group. I mean, these guys are coming up. These guys are young. They're coming up. And you know, Jeff just explained to us why Jalen Brunson is so smart. And I want to add one little thing to what he said, is that he didn't just do it here, Jeff. He did it last year in Dallas. He had a couple of 40-point games. So this is going to be the norm with Jalen Brunson. Okay. I mean, this is what he does. He performs on the big stage. All right. And then let me mention this season, that was season 1 of Jalen Brunson. And this is how far we got in the first season. So right. It can only get better from here. It can only get better. And I look forward to it.
Yep. No doubt about it. Staffa. Been a minute. How you feeling?
Knicks Nation, what's going on? Salute to the panel. Queen, you already know what it is. Jarrell, Clafter, Ajay.
Yes, sir.
Jay Boogie. So we talking about the season, right?
Overall. Yeah, just your thoughts on the season, the playoffs. If you want to talk about what stood out for you, or who stood out for you during the season or during the playoffs, you can do that as well.
I mean, I agree with all of the people on the panel that, you know, the season was a success for me. It's been a long time since we haven't been in the playoffs, like in 13 years. So I'm glad that we are back relevant again, making some noise. You know, what stood out to me is that we kind of took on the narrative and beat the narrative. When I say that, Vegas had us winning 39, and we clearly blew that out the water by 10 games. So that was a positive. Another thing, when we was going up against Donovan Mitchell, they said they had 2 Twin Towers, and they had the All-Star, and they had all the stars, and they didn't give us a chance to even sniff that series, and we conquered that series, and we beat that narrative. So that was the next big accomplishment by this team. Going out there and putting it on the line, and getting to the second round. Another thing I want to say, it mightn't be a popular take, but I got to shout out Tom Thibodeau. He's still a little stubborn, but I see him make a lot of changes this year. A lot of small adjustments. I wouldn't say big adjustments, but he did do a lot of adjustments, a lot of set calls. We had a top 5 defense, I believe a top 5 offense also too. I think that's a big accomplishment for a team that just had an upcoming superstar in Jalen Brunson, because nobody gave him a chance. Tim Legler, a couple other people, said that it wasn't expecting this from Jalen Brunson. But as RJ said, he did it last year. So, it's all up and up with Jalen Brunson. Another acquisition I really liked was Josh Hart. He came in, he stabilized the bench, he gave us the energy, he pushed us, and I think overall, the team did well, but it was a disappointment in the second round against the Heat, where we was going up against a Hall of Fame coach, very experienced. I tip my hat off to Spoelstra. He took that team and is playing very well right now, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. But and then another thing that really disappointed me, and I said this the beginning of the show, the beginning of the playoffs, I root for this guy, number 30. And I said before, if he don't show up, he's gonna have all these criticism about him, and and he didn't show up. As we were saying, Queen, say he isn't built for New York. He's a regular season player. But all I gotta say to him is just keep your head up, keep working. This is his second time being in the playoffs. And I know people are gonna look to say, well, all right, well, he's been in the league for 9 seasons, but out of that 9 seasons, he only has been to the playoffs twice. And I don't think we should just throw him away for nothing. But if the right price do come, I will take it, and trade him, even though that's my guy. So Julius, he needs to step up. I was very surprised with RJ. That was one of the things that we say about the X factor, and he was the X factor. He did step up. He was a surprise to everybody. And and just the whole team in general. I can't go through everybody, but I like what we're doing. I think in the off seasons we should look for, the on season, what Jay Boogie would say. right?
I like that.
I think we need some shooters, definitely. We need a wing defender. I think that could shoot. I got a couple people in mind. I guess when we get to that segment,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring that up. And I think we should be good. A lot of people was down on the team, but I'm not really gonna bash them. I'm not gonna bash the coach. I think we did a very good job. We brought back relevance to New York. We brought a culture to New York, and just go Knicks. And it's nothing but up and up. I feel from here. We probably might be 2 steps, away from getting to that ultimate goal, but I feel like we're going with the up and up, and I'm just going to continue to support these guys regardless who is on the team or who is not. Because I think the name across the chest says it all, and the name across the back. So it's New York Knicks for life.
Yeah. No doubt about it. All right. I mean, so let's move it along. We kind of got everybody's Staffa, can you mute your mic? We kind of got everybody's initial thoughts. So let's just get into the meat of it. A lot of talk about Tom Thibodeau. Y'all know how I feel about it. I think some of the criticism about Tom Thibodeau is fair. But it can be fair, and it still doesn't mean that the coach needs to be fired. So, would I like to see more ball movement on offense? Yeah, sometimes I would like to see that. Would I like to see some more lobs for Mitchell Robinson? Yeah, I would like to see that as well. Would I, if a guy's hot, would I like to see them stay in a little longer? No doubt about it. I think sometimes Tom Thibodeau has the Linus syndrome, I like to call it. He just has this security blanket. He just have these certain players and lineups that he likes and that he trusts, and he will go to them no matter what's happening on the court. It could be working. Whoop, oh, somebody, coming in. So would I like that to change? Yeah, no doubt about it. But I think, like, people talk about us overvaluing other players on other teams. I think sometimes we overvalue other coaches on other teams because we don't get a chance to see those coaches game in and game out, possession in and possession out. And I think if we did, we would find faults in them as well. Maybe not the same fault as Tom Thibodeau. They might be better with their rotations. They might be better with their offensive schemes. But there's something that Tibbs does well that they might not do well. Every coach has his flaws. And for me, I just feel like finally the Knicks have some stability at the coaching position. Let it rock. Gets to the point where, say, next season we don't make the playoffs, or we get bounced in the first round and they want to move on from Tom Thibodeau, right? Every coach has his faults. I don't believe in getting rid of a coach who's been successful. At least wait for them to fail. At least wait for them to fail. And I would love for the Knicks, this is not going to happen. I would love for the Knicks to be an organization like Miami, San Antonio, Golden State, where you just rock with a coach. If you feel you have a good one, if you feel you have a quality one, through the ups and downs. Pop between, he was hired in 1996. His first championship was 3 years later, but he had dogs on the team. Then there was another time where it was like 6 or 7 years between one championship and the next championship. You can only do that if you have an organization that believes in you. I don't think any other organization would have done that, even though you won a championship for them. They're not waiting 6 and 7 years for the next one, because it's just about what have you done for me lately. Spo, I'm not sure how many years he was a coach before he won his first one. I didn't get an opportunity to look that up. But if Pat Riley wouldn't have rocked with Spo, he would have been out of a job before he won his first championship. this is not how the NBA is. But I like those organizations. Once you feel like you have a good coach, rocking with your coach through the ups and the downs. That's not going to happen here. This is a pipe dream I'm talking about here. But at least wait for the coach to be unsuccessful before you fire him. Don't fire him because in the future, you can't see us winning with these offensive schemes. In the future, you can't see us winning with the rotations. Okay, wait for it to happen, because sometimes you can get a team where the rotations don't even matter because they know how to play. Or you could get a team that, you know, are so offensively gifted that the schemes don't matter, right? Anyway, that's where I am on Tibbs. When he underperforms and you want to get rid of him, fine. But that hasn't been the case so far. And a lot of the criticisms on him have been fair. But despite that, he's still been successful. He's a net positive, so to speak. And I just think we need to rock with him until he underachieves. So the question is, are you firing Tibbs this offseason? Why or why not? To me, it's a ludicrous conversation. Is that the right word? Ludicrous? Yeah, ludicrous conversation for this offseason. But apparently it's all the rage on Twitter. And so I'm bringing it here to the panel. And I'm asking you guys, but you already know where I am with it. All right, let's go the other way. Staffa, Ajay, Boogie, Jeff, and then Jarrell.
I'm, you know, as I just said before, I'm not firing the guy. 2 playoffs in 3 seasons. As I said before, brought back respectability to the franchise, set a culture, drafted well. He developed players underneath his wing, the Grimes, the Quickleys. People mightn't say Obi, but he has developed Obi also too. What else can I say about the guy? I mean, as I said before, he's stubborn in a little bit, but he has changed a little bit. I mean, as Queen said, every coach has their faults. You know, you mightn't like his rotations, you mightn't like his offensive sets, but you know, he brought a relevancy back to New York, and 2 out of 3 seasons in the playoffs. You know, I wish we could have got further in the second round this year, but you know, things happen, and you know, I'm in agreement with Queen. Until he doesn't perform well and does not succeed, I think we should move on. And another thing, what was big in the season, well, I should say 2 things, is when I think it was December the 14th, when he went to that rotation of 9 and got the ball rolling. And then by just navigating all the injuries that was going on through the season, and we kept that stability. So, you know, there's a lot of good things that Tom did this year. You know, people mightn't like it. He mightn't be a coach, but you know, I'm rolling with him this off season. I'm not firing him, and let's see what he could do next year. You know, because there's going to be greater expectations getting to the second round. So, you know, and then providing what we do in the on season to add to his style of players. Let's see what happens.
That's a good point. The expectations now are going to be super high. I don't think, it's going to be hard as the seasons go on to, I just don't see him being here long term. Not that I don't want him to be here long term. It's just that as the expectations get higher, the patience is just not there with these coaches. It's just not. Boogie?
Oh, wait.
Oh, Ajay. Sorry, Ajay. Sorry. I
Listen,
already know what Ajay is gonna say, so I
wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do it.
no. See,
I'm
your
gonna let
queen,
you go,
man.
man.
Boogie, you know what she was gonna do? After you, she's gonna have me go after you again.
I wasn't gonna let that happen, man.
She was gonna go Staffa, Jay Boogie, then me.
Sorry about that.
Well, okay. No, Queen. Actually, no. I'm not gonna say what you think I'm gonna say. Well, here's my thing with actually before Tom Thibodeau, right?
Mm-hmm.
You both of you guys and Queen, you agree with Staffa that you gotta wait for a coach to not be successful to fire him. I don't think we have that luxury because we have a window. I mean, right? Like we're popping right now. So do we wait 2 years for Tom Thibodeau to not be successful, and then now we start with another coach, and that coach take like 2-3 years to get in his groove? Where are we gonna be at with that team? Sometimes you got to be able, and that's the front office's job, really, to be able to project, to make a good projection or a good guess of what the future, like what they see developing within the organization. That's their job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Case in point, when Nick Nurse, Toronto had a pretty good team. They had, granted, other things happened. They got Kawhi Leonard and so on and so forth. But sometimes, even when you have a successful season, you got to make a change. Sometimes you got to realize the guy, like certain guys, they have a point where they can take you, and they can't take you further. Case in point, Julius Randle. Everybody's saying trade Julius Randle, right? He could take you to a certain point. He has great regular seasons. There's a point he cannot go beyond that point. It's the same thing for Tom Thibodeau. He's a good coach. He's an excellent coach, in my opinion. But there's a point. There's a line that he's unable to cross. He just doesn't know how to as a head coach. Okay? As a head coach. He has 2 rings, Tom Thibodeau. But as part of coaching, staff that of teams that won a championship. I think he won with Houston Rockets and probably Boston under Doc Rivers, right? It's not that he's not a bad, and I don't want to say fire him. Listen, let's give him another position within the organization. Maybe because Staffa, you mentioned he draft well, so put him in that position where he's one of the guys making the decision, like who you drafting. I feel like there's a point he's unable to do, and we can argue all we want. There are quite a few games that Tom Thibodeau cost us this season and in the playoffs. And listen, there's a ton of games we lost because we just don't have the personnel. We just don't have the talent. But in my opinion, a coach should never, ever, ever be the reason why a team loses a ball game. It's going to happen, but that has to be kept at a minimum, as low as possible. Tom Thibodeau, we watching the game. We could see what he's not. We could see what the other team's doing. We could see the scheme, the stuff they're coming up with, but he's not able to see that and make the right call during the game. And I don't understand, because he has a staff. These guys should be able to see what's going on. I don't know why they're not making the right calls. They're not calling the right plays. They're not making the right adjustments. I don't understand. But like I said, he's not a bad.
An example, because one of the things I'm finding.
All right, game 6. Game 6, we were rolling, and he changed the lineup completely. And then in a matter of seconds, Miami caught up. That's one example. That's the most recent one.
Okay. Any other one?
Any other coach could have done that. Yeah, there are games where Julius Randle didn't have it, but he wouldn't give Obi Toppin a chance to see what he has. It's clear to all of us that Julius Randle does not have it that night, and it happens. Right. It happens that sometimes the players don't have it. But
what if a coach believes that 75% of Julius Randle, or even 65% of Julius Randle, is better than 100% of Obi? Maybe he's thinking Obi might be better offensively than what we're getting from Julius Randle, but defensively, he'll probably be just the same, maybe for different reasons. Lack of effort on Julius' part, Obi not, and then we might suffer rebounding wise.
Okay, he can believe whatever he wants, but we actually have a nice sample size of when Julius Randle don't have it. 60% of Julius Randle does not carry us through. Okay, sometimes we need scoring. These guys can't score, right? Sometimes we playing good defense, but we just can't score. Obi Toppin could come in and score. Julius Randle don't have it. I mean, he could believe that, but you have the numbers, you have the games, you have examples, you have a sample size that says, you know what, he doesn't have it tonight. Why don't we give Obi, just throw in 5 more minutes Obi Toppin's way.
Right. But I hear what you're saying. The sample size that he's not playing well, that's true. But what's the sample size that Obi will do better? So what I'm saying is if
you said, what's the sample size? Well, we don't know because he never tried it. That's the problem.
Okay.
We lose those games, but we never tried it. When Julius Randle don't have it, like he keeps beating that dead horse. Sometimes, and he's done. There's one game like he sat Julius Randle the entire fourth quarter, and Obi Toppin, he came through huge. So we have examples where Julius Randle, like he's done it, but then he doesn't do it again.
Right. I mean, for me, the rotations for me is not as big of an issue as schematic stuff. Why are we double teaming, Jimmy Butler? Is there anything we can run to give Julius Randle some easier shots as opposed to isolating him with Bam, who he doesn't have, and he doesn't have an advantage. But I'm never going to get on a coach for trusting one player more than another. But I hear what you're saying. But I don't know if that's a fireable offense though.
Well,
because he doesn't want to take out his all NBA player for somebody, for Obi Toppin, who I will just put it lightly, the fan base is split on, and who I don't believe he trusts a lot.
Yeah,
I don't think Obi Toppin is his type of his type of player. But go ahead, Ajay.
No. I mean, it's not like I said. It's not. Again, Tom Thibodeau, in my opinion, is a good coach. I mean, he's done some great things, a lot of great things with this organization. He has. I mean, listen, the numbers in 3 seasons, we've been in playoff twice, right? That alone, that speaks volume, right? That's a huge accomplishment for a team who hasn't been in the playoffs in I don't know how many years, right? So if they keep him, all right, let's go. Let's see what happens. If they fire him or replace him, I don't want to say fire because he's
That's what it is.
Well, no. Well, they would reassign him.
It's still, but you're still not coaching. You got fired. Just because they move you to another place in the organization, maybe that softens the blow a little bit. But you're not coaching.
But like I said, at some point, I think maybe you need a different style, a different flavor, a different voice. I think that could make a difference. Now, the other reason I don't want to say fire, because when you fire him, like, who are you going to put in his place? Who are you going to replace him with? That opens. And
are you sure that
other thing?
Coach is going to be better than Tibbs? He may be better in rotations and offense, but not better. So that's what I'm saying.
That's another problem. So
when you make that change, you got to have somebody in mind. Everybody talking about trading Randle, but for who? Get rid of Coach Thibodeau, but for who? Are you sure that's going to be
right? So if they keep him, it's okay. If they don't keep him too, it's a little more okay than okay.
Okay, all right, Boogie. Do you think we should fire Tom Thibodeau this offseason?
I'm keeping Tom. Tom ain't going nowhere. I'm keeping Tom straight like that, because you just said it at the end. Who am I going to replace it with? The dude in Milwaukee, he just lost to the same team we lost to. Doc Rivers can't get over the hump. Who am I going to replace him? Mike D'Antonio get ready to go to Philly. Who am I going to replace him with that can coach against the guys that in this division, in this conference, that can coach? Nobody. At least Tom, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm in the building. See, I don't know how many coaches it was before the season started, after coming off the season that we just had, that won't locked in, that could have gotten Tom's position in his shoes and done what Tom did this year and got us to this point where we was at this year. 10 games, 2 hands, 10 fingers. That's what we was. 10 games away from a Broadway trip. 10 games. 3 teams was in front of us. A lot of people ain't looking at that. We was 2 games away from getting to the Eastern Conference Final, 4 games to get to the championship, and 4 games to win it all. But everybody, you know, want to say about this and that. 10 games, 3 teams. Only teams that was in our way was Miami and the winner of the Boston, Philly, and whoever comes out of the West. That's how far Tom got us to this point. And the biggest thing about where Tom got us to, with what? He did it with nothing. They didn't give Tom nothing. Tommy had nothing. You can't forget when they first hired Tom to come here, if I'm not mistaken, they picked the team roster for him. They picked the coaches, the staffs, and all that. Most people, when they come in, they bring their own thing. Tom didn't bring his own thing, I don't think. And then once you had Woody on his team, Woody left. The other guy that used to work out with Julius, he left. What did Tom have on the sideline with him? You two gonna give me Othello Harrington, all these jokers? No, I don't have nothing. I don't have nobody that really understand this basketball game with me. So before I make a move to go and bring somebody else in, and I don't even know if I'm bringing it, I gotta pick another roster for this, another coaching staff for these people. I'm not gonna allow him to bring his own staff in. I gotta do all that over again, because for real, they're not gonna get rid of Ricky. They're not getting rid of Rick. So a coach has to come in and be willing to allow Leon Rose and everybody else to put together that staff. So if that's not going to happen, I'm good right here with Tom. But the things that I want to put together, I'm not going to put together and go chasing all these players and making all these trades when I could do the same thing for Tom and give him the same chance to fight with, you know what I'm saying, for the next season, instead of bringing somebody else in and giving him a shot that he can fight with, knowing I don't know if Tom could have done the same thing already with what I'm giving this dude. So therefore, I'm going to keep Tom, because I appreciate the effort and Tom gave us all season long, not really looking down it. That's probably why he ain't stay down in the bench. I don't listen. What are they gonna tell me? What they gonna tell me about this here? They ain't never be here. And everybody talking about Johnny Bryant. Johnny Bryant, where and how? What is he gonna do against these elite coaches? He ain't never even been in this position. I appreciate what he does. I appreciate him going to Julius Randle. I appreciate him talking to him. I appreciate him getting in these guys' ear. But when you get up in that stage of coaching and X's and O's and all that, you got to be understanding and knowing what you're talking about at that spirit of moment. If you don't, you're just going to be somewhere drifted. You know what I mean? So I know Tom drifts off, and sometimes when he should be coaching, he might get caught up to be watching the game. But he probably would say, damn, man, I ain't got no other choice. I ain't got nowhere else to look to. Go get this man to pieces. If it's right here, right now, and we 10 games away from a championship, how long, you know, how long has it been since we've been either this way, anywhere, any close? And people say it's an unsuccessful season? Is you kidding me? Is you kidding me? 10 games away from a final, and they throwing it all away, talking about it's an unsuccessful season. Get rid of this person. Get them, fire this person, trade this person, all that. You don't even know what you're talking about. Appreciate what that man did and what he did all season long. Even though he got his small little things, all coaches got little small things that they don't do during certain times of the game that they miss out on. You know what I'm saying? And Tom also, when he miss out on, he might not come back the next game and realize what he missed out on. But get this man a full completed roster, man. It's nobody in the East. Nobody. Everybody's in the West. This is the time to swing. Swing, Leon. That's where all my pressure points is going on. It's going on the office, the on season. I don't care about what just happened. I don't care about the ball players. It's on Leon Rose to do the right thing, fix, do whatever it takes. Get this roster right, because you was 10 games away from the finals parade championship in New York City, which would be the biggest championship celebration in any type sports, man. Give Tom what he needs before you make a decision and get rid of him, and you don't even have him solidify with all the pieces that's supposed to be around him on the roster and on the bench.
Right. When we move to Jeff, I just want to add a little something to the question. How much does stability play in your decision to keep him or not keep him? Jeff?
Well, I think that the reality of the situation is this. There is no such thing as a perfect coach. No matter who we bring in here, it doesn't matter what their pedigree is. It doesn't matter. They could have won 10 championships. If they don't do exactly what we as fans think they should have done on this out of bounds play or on this was stupid or whatever, we're going to find cause to criticize them. Let me tell you what Tom Thibodeau does. He gives us a baseline of competence. Even in his very worst season, which was the year before this one, he won 37 games. That's a baseline of competence. What he did do, what I'm going to give him some flowers for, is he has one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA, and he still managed to turn it into a top 5 offense by doing some unconventional things like, I don't know, utilizing the strengths of his team like offensive rebounding and isolation play, which isn't pretty, but guess what? Isolation is a very effective way to score. And if that's the strength of your team, play to the strength of your team. We're not the team that whips it around a lot for a bunch of assists, but guess what? That's done intentionally, because what happens when you pass the ball a lot? Your turnovers go up, right? So there's a certain intentionality to what he does. And I'm not saying he's a perfect coach, and I'm not saying that criticism isn't valid or warranted. Absolutely. You're entitled to criticize, and I agree with a lot of what was said of what happened in this series, especially with the double teaming of Jimmy Butler. But the other part of that equation is Jimmy Butler has been tore up Boston in game 1 in a way that he didn't really light up the Knicks most of that series. And the Knicks held Miami's offense down a lot more than Budenholzer in Milwaukee or whatever his name is up in Boston. So
yep.
To me, you're talking about a threshold of competence. And I think, Queen, you hit the nail on the head. And this is why I love being on this show. Consistency, competence, being able to have the same voice year in, year out. There's something to be said for that. When you run the same systems, you get better, especially when you have a young team. Now they have another year in the system. Now they've been in the system deeper in the playoffs than they've ever been. And so, yes, does it need refinement? Yeah, but guess what? Tom Thibodeau isn't sitting at home sipping margaritas, sitting on his thumbs. As soon as the season ended, he's watching more tape than he's watching videos. He's married to basketball. He is absolutely married to basketball. And so, look, does he have his flaws? Absolutely. But I am not getting rid of a coach who got us to the furthest we've been since this decade. And like you said, give me a reason like that he actually did something egregiously wrong. Like, this was a team that the second round of the playoffs was not the expectation at the beginning of the year. So you're going to move the goalposts on him and say, okay, now that you got us to this place where, oh, by the way, he completely outcoached Bickerstaff in the Cleveland series, if we're being honest about our assessment, right? He made the adjustments. He looked like Eric Spoelstra in that series, right? And oh, by the way, just my last point, and then I'll get it over to Jarrell. Before the trade deadline, take a look at what Miami Heat fans were saying about Eric Spoelstra. And this is a guy that everybody and their mother is saying is the greatest coach in the game right now. They were ready to run Eric Spoelstra out on a rail because the Miami Heat were struggling and barely in the playoff hunt. Do you think if they had a knee-jerk reaction like we do as fans and said, you know what, it's not working, we want a different voice, we're going to make a change, Look, the guy's been a genius with the genius he's always been. But sometimes you have rough patches. Sometimes you have to stay the course. Sometimes you got to play it out. And I hear Ajay, and I respect Ajay's opinion so much. But you know, when you have an All NBA player, if Jimmy Butler doesn't have it on a night, I don't think Eric Spoelstra's sitting him on the bench the entire fourth quarter. I'm not saying Julius Randle is as good as Jimmy Butler. Don't mistake me. But you ride with your best players as a coach. It's what you do. I mean, and especially when they're all NBA players, you have the trust and the confidence that they're going to figure it out. Do they always do that? No. But I don't think there's a lot of coach. If you're a coach and you want to keep your job, you don't sit your all NBA player for the last 8 minutes of a game where he's struggling. That's a recipe to get yourself fired, in my opinion.
Preach.
And listen, I was watching that Philly, that game 7, Philly, who was that? Philly Boston, and James Harden turned the ball over twice. Sam Cassell got up off that bench, looked over to Doc Rivers. I don't know what he said, but it looked like he was saying, "Get him out of the game." Doc Rivers got him out of the game just for a little bit, put him back in. End of the season, James Harden, and I don't think that was the first time Doc Rivers held him accountable. He's been holding him accountable throughout the season. James Harden didn't like it. Part of the reason I think listen, Doc Rivers, a good part of it was not getting this team past the second round in 3 years. I'm not going to make any excuses, but another part of it is we got to make a decision. James Harden can leave. He ain't really feeling Doc Rivers, you know, and they chose, you know, in my opinion, James Harden over Doc Rivers. Unless you have the backing of your front office, you can't hold these guys accountable. How did that work out for Nate McMillan and Trae Young? Unless you got the backing of your organization, you are not going to be able to hold these guys accountable. Pop can do that. Kerr can do that. Spo can do that. Because they have the backing of their organization. You can come and you could talk to Pat Riley all you want. He ain't getting rid of Spo because he held you accountable. Same thing with Pop. But in these other organizations, it don't work like that. And I wonder when it comes to Randle is friends with Dolan, the top guy. Not friends, but whatever it is. He has a good relationship with the top guy. Right. You know what I mean? So these coaches understand the precarious position that they're in, wanting to get more out of guys, but at the same time understanding that the players have more power these days than the coaches. And if a player wants you gone and he's one of the best players on the team, you're not going to last there that long. It's imperative that you have a good relationship with your top players if you want to keep your job. That's just how it is.
Hey, real quick, when you say, Sam Cassell was telling Doc Rivers and all that. See, when you look down, Tom ain't got nobody like Sam Cassell and them type guys hollering at him, really knowing what's going on with the game. You know, you gotta put the right people around these people, man.
Right. Sure, it's that Harden got Doc fired. I mean, I think, you know, his record has something to do with it as well. But him and Harden knocked heads from what I understand. Anyway.
And shout out to the chat, yo. Hit them like buttons.
Yeah, definitely.
Hit them like buttons. Ajay, I don't know what's going on with Ajay. Hit them like buttons. Y'all get some fight back tonight, man. You get some fight back and some reason.
But listen, it's a long panel, so by the time the word Jarrell even say his piece yet. So you know you gotta.
Yeah, he did.
I gotta wait for the break.
What he gonna say?
I gotta wait for a little break. I can't, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short. Matter of fact, what was the question? We've been talking about Tibbs like an hour.
Would you fire Tibbs?
Right.
Would you fire him this? Would you fire him this off season?
Right. No, I think I don't know. Firing Tibbs really doesn't make any sense at this point. Not after what just happened this season. If anything, maybe fire him last season. Not this season, not after we got to the second round of the playoffs. That doesn't really make any sense. Like, I think Tibbs is pretty much being scapegoated right now. Just because, a lot of fans like the players, and I've been noticing a lot of excuses for the players not performing against Miami. It has, like, we didn't lose to Miami because Tibbs got out coached. We lost because our players couldn't hit shots. It wasn't because of his rotations, even though I didn't like the thing that I mentioned earlier about sitting Randle and Brunson at the same time. But we didn't lose that game because of that, though. We lost that game because our players didn't show up. It's really that simple. Like, if he had better players, we'd probably be playing Boston right now. Or if our players that we have would have stepped up, we'd be playing Boston right now. I don't think it was on Tom Thibodeau. Like, I don't think this season is over because of him. I'll just say that.
Right.
As I point, that's a good point, because Queen, remember when I was talking the other day, we were texting, and I point out to you that Game 6, Jalen Brunson went 14 for 22.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the starting lineup, 5 for 32. That's 15%.
No, not just the starting lineup. Jalen Brunson had more field goals than everybody on the team.
No, but I'm saying the starting lineup's supposed to be like the better, the team
unit,
the A team, the better unit.
True.
They shot 15%, man. 15. I mean, you can't win anything that way.
Right. That's part of the reason why.
We lost by 4 points.
That's part of the reason why in the beginning of the show, when we was talking about like our keys to the season, it was like nobody noticed that I didn't say a word about Jalen Brunson. Because what am I gonna say? He's the man. Like, Jalen Brunson,
he's a stud.
He's a stud. Like, he did everything. Like, that game showed me all I needed to see, and I knew that already. I've been calling him my point guard all year, but there's nothing really to say about Jalen Brunson. He has his flaws just like every other player does, especially with his defense and stuff like that. But he carried us that round, and especially that game. Like, everybody jumped on Jalen Brunson's back, and he almost got us there by himself.
Yeah. Y'all remember that game at the crib, and game was just about over. He took Brunson out. And Brunson was walking by him. Brunson stopped. And he turned back to him.
And he smiled. Yeah, I remember that.
And raised his fist to him to give him some dap.
Yep.
And when Tom looked at him, that right there really made Tom feel good, because when you want somebody to acknowledge you for whatever you're doing and whatever it is you're doing, you want somebody to be on your side, be like, yo, you did a good job or whatever. But that right there showed me that if Brunson is believing in this guy, and I haven't heard, most of the time you hear some rumblings about your players with the coach. I don't hear that. I don't hear that our big players saying anything bad about him or feel some kind of way about him. Like it's a problem with him. I don't want to play with him. Yo, he's doing this, he's doing that, blah, blah. I don't hear that. And that shows two things. That shows how tight Tom got in the locker room, and then it shows that they appreciate Tom. So, Queen said it, she said it earlier, you know what I'm saying? We got a lot of, he got our locker room together, man. People was all right in the organization, man. And that's where you want some stability inside your network, inside your building, your home, your house. We're not tore up and hysterical and all this, that going on and blah, blah, blah. We got a good foundational piece, man. We just got to, you got to put the mortar down first. And once you put the mortar down, then you put the semi-blocks down. And when you put the semi-blocks down, then you put your bricks down. And after you put your bricks down, and then you put up, everything up, your roofing and everything. That's how you make a house. But it starts with the mortar. The mortar, not the semi-block, the mortar. The concrete that seals it. That's where we at right now, man. Trying to seal the crib up, man.
Yeah.
And I just want to add to that too. Everybody brought in. Just like Jay Boogie said, the whole, even during the losing streaks, everybody still kept a level head, and that's towards the coach having them mentally ready You know what I mean? Seeing the season is not over yet. So that's one of the things I just wanted to say behind Jay Boogie, that, you know, he everybody had brought in. They love how he coached, because, you know, when you, like, for instance, James Harden, I'm not saying that he did certain things on spite to get Doc Rivers fired, but when a player is not seeing eye to eye with a coach, they basically going to do what they want and gonna have a say, because, you know, as they say, it's a players league nowadays days, right? And you see what they did. They choose the player over the coach. So I'm just saying, to Tom Thibodeau's strength, he kept everybody in one. Everybody, you know, was playing together, and you know, and it was a unit, you know, and just like Jay Boogie said, man, is nothing but building from here from now on. You know what I mean? You got to start from the bottom to get to the top. You know, you can't just rush the process.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see where this team would be with a stretch five. Even if the stretch five didn't start, but a stretch five on this roster, and that could even be Hartenstein if we allow him to tell him to practice up, put up them threes over the summertime. Remember, Hartenstein is only 24. He's a young buck too.
But Queen, this is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is another thing I don't understand. We was praising Mitch in the Cleveland series. Now he didn't play well in the Miami series. We need to get rid of him and get a stretch five. I understand the young man has doesn't have an offensive game, but you got to understand, you could say he was the MVP in that Cleveland game. Because if he wasn't dominating those guys, you know what I mean, how you think we would have won? So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Queen. You know what I mean? Like little tweaks here and there, a little stretch five. I hope that's one of the things with Tom Thibodeau. I wish he could have used Hartenstein in that way a little more to stretch the floor. You understand what I'm saying? You know, that's one of the criticisms with him. Sometimes he doesn't use the guys, you know, how he's supposed to. But I feel like we shouldn't just get rid of Mitch and just trade him away, because, you know, I mean, he didn't, probably the coach doesn't want him shooting the ball, or that's why he doesn't even look at the basket, you know?
Yeah, maybe. We're going to get into that. But I look at Boston, who has Williams, and then when they come in with Horford, that's when that offense gets
right. Prime example.
Gets going, because he helps to create space for them. And either we need somebody like that, or we're going to allow Hartenstein to be that. But anyway, I want to talk about, listen, is a step forward next season guaranteed? Because I think we're thinking that, we're on our way. You know, second round, then the next year is the third round, and then it's the championship. It doesn't always work that way, even though that's what we would like to. Look at Toronto last year, finished 4th or 5th. This year, playing. Charlotte was in a play-in or playoffs last year. This year, they didn't even make it. There are no guarantees. And I think this is what's going to make it tough for this front office going forward, because there's risk either way. You can stand pat, and the rest of the teams can pass you by, because you're staying pat and trying to incubate or marinate or hoping this team grows into something. But on the flip side, you can make too many changes too fast and set your team back as well, right? Remember, I'll give an example of each. Atlanta, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. What was it, 2 years ago? They stood pat, and they fell back because the Knicks got Brunson, and the rest of the teams, advanced. The same thing can happen to the Knicks too, if they decide to stand pat. Or, listen, there was a time when Boston brought on Kyrie, didn't work. Right. There's been times when you bring in a star and it just doesn't work and doesn't, elevate your team. So it can go both ways. All of that being said, which way are you leaning as far as the Knicks concerned? Are you leaning toward staying pat, making some changes around the edges, allowing these guys to grow into the stars or better rotation pieces that you think they will be? Or are you of the mindset of we need to bring in? And keep in mind, everybody's talking about, we got to bring in shooters. You're not bringing in shooters without sending somebody out. We got a 9-man rotation. So if you're bringing in shooters and you bringing in new people, either somebody is coming out of that rotation and sitting on the bench, or you're trading them, because there's no sense of just having money sitting on the bench like we did with Fournier. So as much as, and shout out to Tony Crow, that's my brother, he just want to just, let's just get rid of Fournier and who is it, Rose, and bring in somebody, and we just keep, no. What are we going to expand the rotation to 11?
Right.
So if we want to make changes, we need shooters, we need defenders, we need that. That means somebody's going to have to go.
Right.
Or at the very least, their minutes are going to get cut. They're going to move down in the rotation and maybe even out of the rotation. But anyway, the question is, where are you with standing pat and just making some small changes around the edges, or making a more significant move? Obviously, if it's a star, fine, but a star may not come along. It may just be upgrade at a position. Just where are your thoughts on that?
If you don't mind, I'm gonna go first because I gotta get ready, get up and get ready to start.
Absolutely.
Get myself to go. But for me personally, only thing I see is the ECF. That's the only thing. Eastern Conference Finals. That's it. That championship. That's where I'm looking at. That's my direction. That's what I'm aiming for. For me to get there, I gotta critique in all areas. I gotta, I gotta add by subtracting. And Queen just said it right. You can't just get rid of 2 and bring in 2 guys that's ready to ball out and play, because now you're stretching the rotation. And Tom really ain't trying to do that. You see, he took the 9 off RJ and he put that on the court. You know what I'm saying? But real talk, we're gonna have to get rid of at least Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose, and 2 other guys, and go get one nice solid piece and another role player that had to be back to where we need to be at, man. Anything short of the Eastern Conference Championship to me is a disaster bust. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm quite sure that's how the players is looking at it, because we just that close. Quite sure that's how Tom looking at it. I'm quite sure the office is looking at it. We don't see nothing else but the Eastern Conference, you know what I'm saying, that's going to be standing in our way. And if we can get there, then we can go and swing and do whatever we got. But you have to make some type of movement, some type of adjustment. You have to catch the wave, ride the wave with what's going on. You can't just let this up and just drift off, you know what I'm saying? There's some teams out there, they know we're here. There's some teams that's out here that's starting to get scared of the Knicks. They know we got a point general over here, and the buzz in the city is back. It's been a long time since we had a buzz like this going on all over. We really don't took over the YouTube networks. We really took over we really was the biggest story in the league this year. I know what Sacramento did and everything, but the league is not a league and when the Knicks is involved with it, oh man, it's crazy. And you see how crazy it was all year. Yeah, people root for us. They ain't been rooting for us for the longest. We knocked so much dust off, so many retired players, you know what I'm saying? You start seeing the Marcus Camby's, the Jarrell Wilkinson, the buzz is back, and you got to ride the wave. But I look for us to make some type of moves to get up in that Eastern Conference Championship. Office, help Tom. Tom, help yourself, and let's go. I love y'all. Y'all continue on doing what y'all doing. I got to get ready. You know what I'm saying? The season ended.
Enjoy the trip.
We get ready to go see Mickey Mouse and go out there. And like I said, y'all might see me in the Miami Boston Celtic game, rocking my New York Knicks thing, feeling like we supposed to have been there. And I wouldn't be feeling no shame about wearing that orange and blue. I love my squad. I love y'all. Shout out to the chat, the most great, loyal, most respectful people it is. And I haven't been on with it. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in the world. Blessings, and we appreciate you birthing us and raising us. And blessings go up to the heavens to anybody that ever lost their mom. We do not forget you. We live your legacies on and on and on. And shout out to all the great great fathers out there. I do believe that this year right here is the year where the fathers get a lot of love and appreciation for who they are and what they doing. But Queen, you got to show that's just blowing, doing what it's doing, Queen, and everything coming your way. You deserve it because you've been in position for it. You earned it, and the trips you got, you trying to figure it out. Nah, ain't no figuring out. Can't catch your trips. You deserve that. See your world. See your world. Everybody see your world. God bless you all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Right.
All right,
salute,
Jay.
salute, 3 capital S's.
All right, man.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. Jigga man. Knicks Morning, what is it? Knicks Morning Brew is the show, but I keep getting the channel mixed up. Knicks Morning Brew is the show, but I think it's the Morning Brew crew, I want to say. But salute to Jigga Man. I'm going to be on their show tomorrow between 11:30 and 12. So you guys, I think their show starts at 11, but I'll be on between 11:30 and 12. If you haven't already, check out the Knicks Morning Brew Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. I love those guys. The chemistry is off the chain, and the takes are off the chain as well. Morning Brew Sports, and this show, the name of the Knicks show is Knicks Morning Brew. They also do a Yankees Morning Brew. So any Yankee fans, they do a Yankees Morning Brew as well. I love you guys as well. The takes are good. They're very even-handed. You know, when they talk about the players and the chemistry between them is great. And the graphics. Anyway. Yeah, just your thoughts on next season for the Knicks or how the front office should proceed. If you guys are interested in my full thoughts on it, I pinned my audio podcast in the chat. So you can give that a listen. It's about 30, 35. I think it's 34 to 35 minutes, wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm on pretty much all streaming platforms.
It's fire.
The link
Y'all
is
need
in the
to check it out.
description as well.
Mm-hmm. Very dope.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, your thoughts on standing pat, just making some changes around the edges, or making a bigger move if it is available.
Well, I'm all for upgrades. I think maybe because I like the type of fan that I am. Like I'm not too attached to players. Like I'm a Knicks fan. Like I have my favorite players on the team, but I'm not scared to get rid of them. I don't really have that much personal attachments to them, really. Yeah, so I'm all for upgrades. I think that's what's actually going to happen. I think the series against Miami was a little bit of a wake-up call. Like our kids just aren't ready yet. We was the youngest team in the playoffs, I believe, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And they just pretty much, just didn't show up. It was kind of hard, to be honest. They didn't really show up against Cleveland either. Not most of them. We beat Cleveland because Cleveland played very, very badly. We didn't play our best ball versus Cleveland either. And Tom Thibodeau did.
You gotta say Mitch. You gotta say Mitch. We don't want
Staffa. My bad.
Mitch
Mitch played
He
well.
doesn't like to say Mitch.
He definitely played well. Mitch played well. I'm gonna give him his props for that series.
Mitch earned his paycheck.
Yes, he did.
Mitch earned his paycheck.
And that's the thing with Mitch, man. He makes you such a believer. I'm like, oh my God, Mitch then crossed over. Then we get into this Miami series and bam, it's
all over again. Curse them out all over again versus Miami, but yeah.
We with Jalen Brunson, he said we got one. With after Cleveland with Mitch, he said we got two.
Right.
Two now.
Yeah, but I'm still up for upgrades, man. Like I'm never trying to stay pat just because. Like we can't say that we want shooters, but then want to keep all our young guys too, because where they playing, and then people want draft picks too. Where they playing. Like if you want to keep Obi, if you want to keep IQ, that's cool, but you can't have both. We either want to upgrade or we have to keep the players that we have. We can't have both. We can't just get rid of Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose. They wasn't playing anyway. So you're just gonna take the two oldest players off the team that wasn't getting any minutes anyway and replace them with shooters that you want to play and want to play the other guys too. Tibbs not doing that. If anything, Tibbs' rotation is going to shorten especially in the playoffs. It's never going to get longer unless it's some type of, I don't know, like unless he changes somehow, and I don't see Tibbs changing. Upgrades are coming because I don't think he wants to go back into the playoffs with the youngest team in the league again.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, before the question, hit that thumbs up because we're at about 50% right now. We need to bring that up. We need to be at least at 100 right now. There's 126 watching.
Word.
We need to be at least 100.
Yeah, the like button helps the channel.
It helps the channel. Man.
It helps the channel.
If you guys are listening, that's you like it, you appreciate the content. So that's what you got to do, man. Just hit the like button. Here's my question. So Jarrell is saying I guess Jarrell's saying he doesn't want to bring like a huge, like too drastic a change, right?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm willing to do that. It just depends on what the move is, to be honest. Like I don't want to be, I don't want to be crazy with it. But yeah, if it's a player that I really take in high regard and I think he's be a fit on this team, then yes, do it, no matter how big it is.
Right. And okay, so upgrade is good overall, and like Kerry Cox, like you have on the screen here, we make an upgrade. But a lot of people are saying we need shooters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize the last time we were in the playoffs, 2 seasons ago, we had the same problem. We tried to fix it. We tried to correct it by going after shooters. It was a disaster. Okay, so if I'm the front office, like, what do I do? Like, what do you if you're the front office, what do you do? And in terms of, do you need shooters or do you need some sort of upgrade? And where do you get that upgrade? Like, where are those players that we want to upgrade from to?
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's my question to you guys. Like, where do you get that upgrade? Like, where do we get it?
But that's why they make the big bucks, though. That's their job to find those upgrades. Just like before, we didn't know what type of backup center we can get. Nobody brought up Isaiah Hartenstein before we signed him.
You do realize if we do, let's say we make a trade, right? We upgrade at one position. That team that we dealing with, they're downgrading at that position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe they got multiple shooters, or maybe that maybe they're going in a different direction.
Right.
Different direction.
Yeah, maybe they're going in a different direction. But listen, just because you went for shooters 2 years ago and it didn't work out doesn't mean you don't go for shooters again.
Right.
We need them.
Yeah, we need them.
Ajay, what do we shoot in the playoffs? We shot at least 19% or something around there from the 3-point line. Okay, you can't win in this league without 3-point shooting, bro. And that's the new norm.
I agree.
And that's how we lost in some of these games. Well, the Miami game, we couldn't shoot.
I agree. And I just point out that, you take out Jalen Brunson, the rest of the starting lineup shot 15%. 15%. 15%. That's 3 shots out of 20. 3 mix out of 20 attempts. That's what 15%.
It was brutal, man. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was. Go ahead, Staffa, and then Jeff, if you want to comment on it. I have another question as well.
Yeah, so I was saying I probably got like 3 things I probably want to do this offseason. And Queen mentioned one of them. If there's a star available, I would definitely go after him. Everybody know, just like Jarrell said, can't be attached to the players. We do have our favorite players on the team. But if a star comes available, where I got to get rid of number 30, even though he's my dog, and I roll with him, if it's something better than him, that 25, 10, and 5, people might say his regular season stats, he doesn't perform. But just like my man CP said, those don't come on trees. So if I'm going to trade for Randle, it has to be somebody better than him. Now, if that doesn't happen, I would like to make some small changes. For instance, I think it was Kerry Cox said, the power forward and the small forward. So what I would do, people love him. He's a fan favorite, but he might have to get traded. So if I could get rid of Obi and bring in a better power forward, that is competent and could at least give us some rebounds and score those type of things that, that he can do. Plus, also, if he could stretch the floor and shoot a three, that would be even nice to add to his repertoire, right? So I would upgrade the power forward section, and I would definitely get us a 3-and-D shooter. There's a lot of shooters that's on the market, going to free agent. I know some of y'all heard it. I like some of them also too. The Max Strus, the Klay Thompsons. Probably might be a lot to get to sign him, but he's going to be a free agent. Max Strus, Torrey Craig from Phoenix. He's another good one. You got Kevin Middleton. If we could get him, he's not a superstar star, a borderline star. He could also, I'm not saying he's going to come off the bench, right? But however, we got to trade, get some of the dead weight, to bring in those type of players to help us upgrade. Yes, because I do believe once we decline Derrick Rose and we trade Fournier, we should have like I think it's the mid-level exception of 12 million or something like that, also to help sign Josh Hart and some other players to come in. So we, as just like Jarrell said, we got to move some of the dead weight in order to get these players in here in the rotation. And Obi was in the rotation, so we could change him. And also, hopefully we could get a backup power, small forward to back up RJ, right? So those are the small things that I think we need to do if we're not going to trade Randle and get a superstar if it's not available. And just tone up the building, paint it up a little better, fix up the pipes and everything around the house, and see if we run it back, see where we could go.
Yeah, I think we got to make some bigger changes than that. To me, I used to say for Randle, we got to trade him for a superstar. The threshold for changing Randle for me has come down some. And I'm looking for a guy. We may not be able to find a 25, 10, and 5 guy. But sometimes you can find a guy who's really good, maybe not as good as Randle, but he's a better fit, and it elevates the team, even though individually he may not be a better player than Randle.
Good point.
So I'm looking for those type of guys as well. For example, I don't know if Siakam, you could go back and forth with whether Siakam is better than Randle, but he might be a better fit. We know energetically he's going to be there for us for most of the game. I like Jeremy Grant, but I'm not a big Jeremy Grant fan because of the rebounding component. I need my power forwards to rebound. So, and so the question is, and Jeff, you can answer you're going to go first, so you can answer the previous question, if you like. In terms of staying pat or making changes, Randle is on the table. But the question I want to ask is about RJ. RJ stepped up for us in the playoffs, big time. He was the second best player on our team in the playoffs. But my question about RJ is, does he have the skill set we need at that small forward position? Not whether or not he can score 20 points. We know he can. Does he have the skill set that we need at that small forward position? And for me, the skill set I think we need at that position is somebody that can shoot the ball from the perimeter dependably.
You already answered your question.
But I'm just saying, for you guys can answer it for yourselves as well.
Okay.
Can defend solidly and can handle the ball. Like I feel with Brunson, you got to flank him with a small forward and a shooting guard that can shoot. Defend, because Brunson can. If Brunson was a better defender, then maybe one of them didn't need to be as great as a defender, but he's not a good defender. So I think he has to be flanked by defenders, and he has to be flanked by ball handlers that can handle the ball under pressure. I mean, that Miami series, it was like, and I've said this multiple times, it's like a high school team.
Yep.
You key in on that best player, you put in that box and one, and everybody else just run up the court because nobody else can handle the ball, and Brunson is out there on the island. Or if you do bring somebody to set a trap, that person winds up trapping. To set a screen for Brunson, that person winds up trapping him. Like, we got to get better with guys who can bring the ball up against pressure. But anyway, Jeff, you an advocate of standing pat with little changes, making bigger changes if you can, and then you can also give your thoughts on Randle and RJ, and then I'll check the chat.
I think that this is going to be a very difficult off season for the front office. There's a lot of tough decisions that have to be made, and I think that we're kind of forged by after the Atlanta series, we were really reactionary, and like we made moves that we thought would have specifically won us that series if we got back in that specific situation, and we ended up adding players that collapsed our entire foundation that had that we had built that got us to that point in the first place. No doubt. So I think there's a very delicate balance there. I think your question about Barrett is interesting because I think in a lot of ways Barrett is our most tradable asset in that he's 22 years old. He's a 20-point per game scorer. He had other than shooting the ball in game 6, he had a really nice playoffs. He's on a reasonable contract. I know people say, oh, we're paying him $100 million. Well, yeah, but we're paying him $100 million over 4 years, and almost all of his peers in that draft got max contracts that are almost twice as much he's making. So is he making a scandalous amount of money? Yes. For his production compared to Zion, compared to Ja with his weapons infatuation, it may be the best contract of the three. And he outplayed Darius Garland in the playoffs, so that's really the only other peer from his draft class that maybe I'm missing somebody. I apologize if I am, but those are the 3 other cats that you really put up against him. And so I think in some ways, and I've said this a lot, I think the fit between Barrett and Brunson and Randle is clunky. I've always thought that. I think Thibodeau took a bad situation and he made the best of it. And would I love to see RJ grow and thrive here? Absolutely. But I don't know. Part of me, and I don't know if this is the right move or not, but part of me is like, if we could send him to the Clippers and get back a Paul George, George is older, but I think George fits a lot of the check boxes that you were talking about in your list of what we need from our small forward. And if you plug him in and he's healthy, which is always a question, and Randle is Randle and Barrett, both very durable players, so you didn't have to worry about that with them. But I honestly think that this is a season where the Knicks are going to have to turn over every stone, which is dangerous because there's a lot of disgusting bugs under some of those stones. Like there are names out there that I don't really want to see in a Knicks uniform. Zach LaVine, Karl Anthony Towns, just to name a couple. Guys who aren't bad players. I'll even throw Paul George in there because I'm not confident in his availability. I was just saying as far as an archetype that fit the things that you talked about, he fills all those. That's why I mentioned him. But again, he's older. I'm not sure I necessarily am in love with that either. Do I want to get rid of Randle? Only if we're bringing back someone who with legitimate gravity, who helps the team. I mean, I don't want to, and I don't think our front office is going to sell anybody for pennies on the dollar.
Right. I agree.
I think what helps us in some aspect is that Immanuel Quickley wants to be a starter, and Immanuel Quickley's never going to be a starter here. But I think there are a lot of teams out there that view Immanuel Quickley and say, hey, he could be our starter. And I think you can parlay that thought into getting something of really good value and possibly even an upgrade to what we're doing right now. And I say that, and I'm leery of trading Quickley just because of his plus minus impact all year. Whether his stats are there or not, for whatever reason, when Quick was on the court, the Knicks were in the positive up until the playoffs at the least. I don't know what the plus minus numbers said before he got hurt in the playoffs, but I know during the regular season, Quickly was one of the best plus. That's why he was second for sixth man of the year, because every lineup he was in was better because he was on the floor.
Right.
And, and he's extension eligible now. And so I think that's someone that you could parlay. I think Obi Toppin is a player that some teams will view as someone who could potentially be a starter, and whom not that I think Quickly's the better player, to be clear, but I think that a lot of people say, well, here's a guy who's behind an all NBA player. If we run a system like Indiana, for example, we want to get up and down the floor, which is to Obi Toppin's skill set. If we could acquire that player, he can be much more for us than he was for them.
Right.
Now, I don't know that there's anything in Indiana that I necessarily want that they would be willing to give up, but I don't think this team can stand pat. I think that there's a possibility for that internal growth, but I just feel like some of the pieces don't fit the best. And I also feel like you've got these players like IQ and Obi who are kind of hitting their ceilings based on the players that they have in front of them. And so it's going to be time to say goodbye to a few players that we may even really like. And guess what? Mitchell Robinson may be one of those. He's my guy. But you know what? What if Joel Embiid asks out of Philadelphia? I'm just throwing that out there. And I know not everybody loves Embiid. He's got injury histories or whatever. The guy's the MVP. Do you take the chance on bringing an MVP in here to add to a point guard like Brunson? To me, if that's a possibility, that's something you have to explore. And it's so funny because we all have players that we like and players that we don't like, and that tends to color how we view these moves ahead of time, regardless of what happens. Once they're in the Knicks uniform, then I mean, there's certain deals, like I think universally everyone thought trading for Andrea Bargnani was a galactic mistake. I think Josh Hart was the opposite. I think almost everyone saw what Josh Hart was going to bring. Maybe people were a little bit concerned about giving up the first round draft pick, which ended up putting us without one in this year's draft. But I'm not overly concerned about that, because no matter who we took, I don't think they were going to play. How are they? In other words, unless you're just a top-notch, top-flight Scoot Wembanyama type player, how are you cracking this rotation? We've got guys like Deuce and Sims, who we know are NBA players who can't crack the 9-man rotation. A rookie's not going to do that. And so we don't have a lot of salary cap room. So really, the primary mechanism that we're looking at is to make a trade of some sort, possibly multiple trades. So I think at least one is going to happen. And I'll say this, I don't know who it's going to be for, but at least one, and I'm going to say two of the rotation guys, the young guys that we like, and I don't know which two, are going to end up going out in that deal. That's what I think.
Yeah, you make a very good point. But before I comment, I just want to wish a happy birthday to Ron at Still Knicks fans. Happy birthday, my brother.
Happy birthday,
Everybody is
Ron.
familiar with Ron and his shows, Know the Ledge Saturday, the NBA Report on the MBK channel. Ron, I appreciate you. Let me see if I got my eye contact with the camera. I learned this. I learned this from Ron. Every time I watch the show, he's right at the camera. Happy birthday, my brother.
Yeah, my dog turned 75 today.
Right?
Looking like 30.
This is not an ancillary birthday, Ron. Salute.
That's right.
No ancillary stat there.
This is the thing, though, and this is why I agree with you, Jeff. I think that in order to upgrade this roster, some of the players that's in the rotation are not going to be here. Either they're not going to be here, or they're going to move to the second unit. They're going to move down. You could say that one of the things that hurt the Knicks was our youth, and the fact that we were really counting on a Grimes and a Quickly in this in the playoffs. And shout out to Freezy, who on the show today talked about, people are trashing them, but their defense was really good, on Jimmy Butler, and particularly Grimes, right? IQ was hurt. But also, what are we expecting from guys? Is their first year in the playoffs? For Quickly, it's his first year in this particular role. They might have did well. They might not have. Can you really get on them? But I think the Knicks are going to have decisions to make about, Grimes needs to move to the second unit, in my opinion. I just think we need a more dependable shooting guard at that position. Now, if he becomes that during the season, that's a good problem to have. Now we got two of them, and we'll figure out, what to do. But you really need somebody in these high leverage games that when they get a shot, chances are it's going down 38 or 39% of the time. I'll take a good 40. But that's sniper territory, I think, 40, 41%. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Knicks does. Any fear that making too many changes, particularly big changes at one time, may not work out in terms of the team not gelling in time, underperforming, it not working? Any concerns about that at all?
Scared money don't make money.
Yeah, but not as long as Tibbs did. We just talked about how Tibbs, the pillar of stability and all that. Yeah, he's there. I don't think nothing else changes. A couple of players might change, but the system will be the same. Jalen Brunson will be there. I think they're just pretty much going to build around Jalen Brunson.
Okay. All right. Listen, bringing Brunson in was a big change for us. It was a little rocky in the beginning, and we found our way as time went on. Bringing in Josh Hart basically was seamless, right? There really wasn't any adjustment when he comes in.
Because of Jalen Brunson. Like it's somebody they brought in to surround him with, somebody familiar. They're going to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard somebody mention this. I don't know if it was Lockhart, Knicks, or something like that, but I find it very interesting. Do you regret giving up that first round pick for Josh Hart and not getting a pick in this year's draft?
The only way I would regret it if we don't re-sign him.
Oh, yeah.
If we don't re-sign him, that was a terrible move.
Agreed.
But if we re-sign him, then I'm fine with that. Our pick would have been what, 20-something?
Yeah, may not have played, and the Knicks may have traded him anyway. And keep in mind, the Knicks can still trade that Dallas pick for 2020, 2024.
True.
Yeah, so the Knicks can still, use that Dallas pick in a trade. I don't regret it. I know as a fan base, Josh Hart was lights out against Cleveland. Oh my God. And then against Miami, not so much. And now people are regretting playing. Oh, he got limitations. He's got this. I don't know why we signed. I'm good with Josh Hart. I'm good giving up the first round draft pick.
Yep.
His wife gave birth to twins. Maybe he was somewhat distracted, during the series. I'm not sure, but I'm okay with Josh Hart. The only thing I would wish, and I think it's probably too late in his career for this, I just wish he was a more willing shooter when he's wide open.
Right. I agree.
That's all. But I just think that sometimes for some players, it's just hard for them to change the more they've been in the league. But I hope when they do the exit interviews that they're telling him, let it fly. I just want you to think about the Delta airplane. Just let it fly. I hope they're telling him.
Chris, I don't know if you know that there's no public exit interviews, right?
Oh yeah, no, I know that, but I'm hoping that they met with the players privately.
Right.
Okay. So I hope that's what they're telling him. All right. So most of us agree. Ajay, did you get a chance to speak on this?
No, but you could proceed. But I want to say one quick thing about the Josh Hart. You said it may be too late in his career. I don't think so.
No, okay.
I mean, hey, listen, we're talking about hoops here, man. That's shoot. And I'm sure at some point somebody said, Julius Randle, it was too late in his career until they hired Tom Thibodeau, and Tom Thibodeau sat with him and turn. I want to say encourage him to become the All NBA player that he always had it, but maybe you needed a coach to have that trust in you to to unlock that potential in you. So I don't think it's too late for Josh Hart. He could do it. And I'm pretty sure next season we're probably going to see him shoot more. So
yeah, I hope so. He got a little hitch in the shot, or something is going on with the shot. So hopefully he'll smooth that out.
Yeah, he's got all summer to work on it.
He'll work that out. To me, I love Josh Hart. I just love the way, he's not a starter in my opinion. I think he's a bench player, but I think he's a high level bench player as well. And he's somebody, when someone is out with an injury, that you can, similar to quickly, slide him into the starting lineup, and he does well. I just would want him to be a more willing shooter so that they have to respect him. Just shoot it at like 35%, even 34%, so that they have to respect them. But what I'm getting from the panel is you want the Knicks to make changes, and you don't seem to be concerned that the Knicks will make too many changes and there'll be chemistry issues. That doesn't seem to be an issue with this panel. RJ Barrett, you guys are okay running him back at that small forward position. You guys don't have a problem with his skill set, given how he played in the playoffs. You guys think that if we can get a shooting guard, I know some were talking about Bradley Beal makes a lot of money. He has like 3 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
$2 million. Like that's a lot. And listen, the Knicks did themselves favors in getting Brunson and Randle and RJ under these basically cheap, contract. But with the new collective bargaining agreement, before, all you had to worry about was the owner's pockets, because it would just be a tax. You could still improve your team. I think they had a taxpayer exception where you could sign a player for $5 million, or something like that.
Right.
All of that is gone when you get to there's 2 apron, 2 lines. When you get to that second line and you cross that, it's real punitive.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, you're not getting you're not getting taxpayer exceptions. You can't sign a player off the buyout market. There's some, it gets really, so you got to be really careful about the players that you're signing. You're locking yourself into players. Once you hit that line, if you don't have a championship team, how are you going to improve?
What I would say with RJ, and I said before, right? It doesn't matter the name on the back. If it's a better player in that position, for us to get better, I'm doing it. And I just thought about something. I mentioned his name earlier, and I'm thinking you probably could trade for that player. And that's not trade, but sign him in the offseason. I think he's a free agent. I'm not saying we could do a sign and trade. I don't know how that goes. Anybody know? But Chris Middleton, I would definitely trade for Chris Middleton to put in that starting lineup and trade back RJ to Milwaukee. And I think that will be a good upgrade with that position. We got shooting. I don't know about his defense too much. Anybody could look that up, put it in the chat. But I think offensively, that gives us another 1-2 punch to help Brunson. It probably might give us a better spacing also too. So I think with RJ, yeah, he performed well in the playoffs, but if it's to get a player like probably Chris Middleton for that position, I know JJ loved this because he has a thing with RJ. He's not a good fit. So I think Chris Middleton will probably fit that more with this team. I don't know how the panel feel about that.
The only issue I have with Chris Middleton is the recent injury histories. I like him, and I like him for this team. The 3-pointer, he's able to handle the ball. His mid-range. That the only issue I have with Middleton is his recent injury history.
Right. Yeah, it's just the injury concern for me. Other than that, yeah, he fits the team, but it's just the injuries though.
Does Milwaukee do that deal though? Like, why wouldn't Milwaukee just re-sign Middleton?
Well, see, that's the thing. You never know. Middleton might want a different change of scenery. Because he and Lopez is free agents this year.
What about Lopez?
I was about to say him.
I was listening to a show and they were talking about Lopez, but then the question was, will Tom Thibodeau allow Lopez to be Lopez, or would he put him under the basket and have him playing differently?
Right.
Like with Isaiah Hartenstein when he first got here, not taking advantage of what he brings.
Yeah, but Queen Lopez, he's one guy. He's too old to change what he's doing now. Tom Thibodeau could not get him to change to play any different than. I mean, he's robotic at this point. He plays.
And Queen, I heard he's linked to Cleveland in a trade for what's his name? The other for Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cleveland looking to upgrade too, and they're looking at him also too. So
that's what I'm saying. The teams around the Knicks are not going to stand pat.
Right.
And there's always a team or two that drops out of the playoffs. Hopefully, I don't think it's going to be us. But there's always a team or two where one season they make the playoffs and the next season they drop out.
That was us last year.
I think a healthy Jalen Brunson is as good an insurance policy against that. I mean, knock on every piece of wood that you can find that I'm speaking this, but I honestly feel like a healthy Jalen Brunson gives us a baseline of a playoff team. I don't. He's just that good.
He is.
Yeah, but you got to have somebody to help him. And you see what happened in the playoffs. Once we get there, he didn't have help. So we got to get that second option to really help him.
Sure.
So I don't think he could put
up 40. I agree with that 100%. I'm just saying I don't think we'll fall off the map like we did 2 years ago.
Right. I get it.
Right. I only have 2 more questions, and then I'm opening it up to whatever you guys want to discuss, whatever the chat wants to discuss. How important is an experienced point guard behind Brunson and IQ? And, this is one of the tough choices. We've been in development mode. We're a young playoff team, and I do believe that we need a few more proven players on the team. And once Quickly got hurt, that was part of the issue. It was either McBride or bust. And Tibbs chose bust, except for those 3 minutes in game 6. And then, also if Brunson gets hurt and then you move quickly to, the starting point guard, now McBride is in that second unit. And for me, I just don't think McBride is ready yet. And I just think if the Knicks is going to be a perennial playoff team and eventually a championship contender, I don't see McBride being in that type of rotation. I see him being situational unless his game just doubles. Unless his game, just takes off. I don't see McBride that way. Your thoughts on bringing in an experienced guard as that third guard?
I think it's very important. It was one of my not pet peeves, but it was one of my like focuses before the season started this year, because I knew Derrick Rose wasn't going to be available that much. I didn't think he wasn't going to play at all, but Derrick Rose has gotten hurt every season for like the past 5 seasons, so I didn't expect him to be on the bench for the most part of the season, and I didn't think that Tibbs was going to play Deuce that much. So, yeah, I think it's very, very important for us to get a backup point guard. You saw what Miami did to us. Jalen Brunson had to play 48 minutes in Game 5 just to get to Game 6. So that alone should tell you that we obviously need somebody behind him that can handle the ball.
As long as they can play defense, I don't want any fart dog in it. We gotta have guards who can defend, and that Brunson is so great as an offensive player and so efficient. And he's so small, you can kind of give him a pass. But I don't mind bringing in a backup point guard, but they have to be able to defend. They have to be able to, even if it's a Pat Beverly type, and he's not my favorite. But
well, I mean, that's what Queen was just saying, because IQ want to start. So if we could, as I said, everybody's on the table, right? Except for JB. Let's just make that clear. So if we do trade quickly, we got to get a complimentary backup point guard that could run the same system for Tibbs, and probably a little more in length and stature, even if they was to play alongside each other. So I don't have no problem with bringing in another point guard that can handle the ball. I did mention that in the early season, where I was telling you, Queen, sometimes we need to do a different look, put him quickly in the game and let him bring up the ball a little more, right? And he could just play off of Brunson and be a decoy.
Right.
So yeah, if we could also do that too, because Quickly wants to be a starter, and we don't know how much he is willing to accept from the Knicks. Even though we got his bird rights until next year when he becomes a free agent. So I mean,
restricted though, Staffa.
Who's restricted?
Next year, he would be a restricted free agent. He's extension eligible this year, but if we don't give him the extension next year, he becomes a restricted free agent, and we would have the right to match any contract.
Right.
Shad, that's what we've been talking about. How do we feel about staying packed and adding nobody and running it back? And most, if not all of us on the panel felt like we needed to make some changes. And I don't even think we were talking about, maybe Staffa said minor changes around the edges.
Right.
If I'm wrong, he said just some minor changes around the edges. For me, I just think the Knicks need to make a significant upgrade, particularly at the shooting guard and small forward position. Though I have to say, if RJ Barrett is shooting, if he's getting back to shooting the three, I'm okay with RJ Barrett. I just feel like we just need some shooters out there. I just feel desperate for shooters. And if RJ Barrett can do it, I'm okay with RJ Barrett. I really like the way he played. I really liked his floor game. He just seemed like the blinders, is it binders or blinders came on?
Blinders.
And he was able to yes, there's a person right there. Pass it to him, So he did much better with that. Now, will that carry over to next season? I really
don't know.
That made a huge difference in this game.
Huge difference.
Huge.
Knowing RJ, it won't carry over right in the very beginning, Steph. You're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. He's usually a slow start.
We don't want that to happen, Jarrell. We don't want that to happen. We want him to start off just like how we start off in the playoffs. We don't need those slow starts again.
There are ice ages that start off faster than RJ Barrett, though.
And then RJ already. Every show is a criticism of RJ, so we don't want that. We want him saying good things next season about him, at least.
Right.
And he said we were going to shock the world, and he was right.
He was right. And I think the shooters we need aren't in that second unit. We need shooters in the first unit. So when people talk about, just sprinkle in a few shooters, bring in what was the guy from San Antonio who played with us? 6'7", 6'8". Oh, man.
Doug McDermott?
Yeah, Doug McDermott.
Dougie?
Yeah, I don't think Dougie is a starter, though.
No.
We need shooters in the starting.
No.
You know what I would love?
I would love Klay Thompson.
Oh. Yeah.
Damn, Steph. Well,
he's a free agent, though. Listen,
we don't have money, though. We would have to clear space.
Well, I think we could do that. I mean, trust me, we got assets. We got like 11 first-round picks in the next 7 years or something like that. I mean, we could definitely make a deal with Golden State. I mean, Bob Myers about to go, or to resign him. Klay Thompson is a free agent. Draymond is a free agent. I mean, sometimes you got to swing, man. Just like Jeff said, scared money ain't gonna make no money. and if you go upgrade that position right there, Queen, you've been saying, even Grimes is my boy. right? Y'all know that. That's my son. But if he got to go to the bench for Klay Thompson, a sharp shooter that we need, I'm taking him.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about Wiggins. He's another guy, if you just go player for player, whoever you're trading him for, maybe that other player is better, but Wiggins transforms our team, I think. Just to have that long, lengthy guy who could really focus on defense and hit the three. I really like Wiggins. I don't know how much money he's playing, but I really like him. Somebody said Klay and Klay no more.
Listen, if we could get him to as a spot up shooter, he could still shoot the rock. You don't have to move around and do all of that crazy stuff. He could just be a spot up shooter. You know, they normally, Tom Thibodeau's system, stand up in the corner. You know what I mean? And shoot the rock.
Oh boy. Somebody said something. Oh, Klay. No, I think I put that one up there. Oh, that he's not a free agent, only green. All right.
I think he is.
And Greg, salute Greg, long time. Klay is washed. Wow.
I don't know about that.
Last question. How much pressure is on the front office to improve this team this off season?
Big time pressure. Isn't it? They're going into the last year, right? Or is this the second to last?
Last year.
Second to last. Yeah, second to last. And plus the new salary cap on the collective bargaining agreement is after next
is the year after. Yep.
Right. So yeah, so that kind of aligns with everything. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure on them. Like they clock is ticking, just like everybody keeps saying. Like Tibbs' clock is ticking. They're all under the same clock.
Yeah.
They all signed at the same time. They all got 5-year contracts.
5 years. That's right. Right.
So yeah, it's definitely important, and I think that's one of the reasons that they are going to make a move this year.
Well, they're gonna make a move because they want to win, but I don't think they're under a whole lot of pressure, because for the same reason that Tom Thibodeau's seat is safe, because he's been successful, like he changed the culture and do all that. For the same reason, the front office accomplished the same thing. The front office took this team from the gutters and put them in the second round of playoffs. So by James Dolan's looking at it and say, you know what, these guys doing a good job. They're not going anywhere. And James Dolan at the beginning of the season said his goal, the goal for this team was to make the playoffs, was to get back in the playoffs. Not only we got back in the playoffs, but we made it to the second round. In his eyes, these guys are doing a great job because they're exceeding what they intended to do. So
the pressure will be on next season, though.
And you forgot the bottom line, RJ. Money.
What about money? The Knicks is
by making the playoffs also too, because that puts money in his establishment.
Exactly. Right. And this team is the most valued team. So it's on a great uphill. This team, I mean, listen, there's no reason if you're James Dolan to get rid of these guys. If there's pressure on them, that's self-inflicted. They want to get better because they want to go further. It's not coming from the office upstairs.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I was going to say with James Dolan, I think it all depends on, like, you don't really know what he's thinking with these teams when it comes to the playoffs, because he owns the Rangers too, and they just got rid of their coach because they kind of did a lackluster job in the playoffs. They lost in the first round to the Devils when they were favored. So remember, we were favorite in that second round against Miami. I know our players are young and they didn't show up, but at first, before the series started, everybody was picking us to win. So we didn't. So yeah, it's pressure for them. If they miss the playoffs next year, they might not come back, Ajay. They might be gone, yo.
That's next year. That's next year.
Yeah, but we're talking about, talk about the next playoffs. Like, then after that, it'll be their last year. So if they miss the playoffs next year, I don't know if James Dolan is going to go into their last year of the contract.
Right. Well, this offseason, I think there is pressure this offseason.
Yeah.
Because if the team next year's team don't make the playoffs, Tibbs is gone, and that front office might be gone as well.
Yeah, because
that's
they
how
only got a year left.
operates. He wants to see,
progress.
He wants to see progress. Now, will he do the same thing he did? Like the Rangers went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then the next year they lost in the first or second round or something like that.
Right.
They was going like a fart in a dust storm.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing. I think at least get back to the second round. You go to the play-in, Tibbs can forget it.
Yeah,
maybe even the front office too.
Right. If they don't make the playoffs, they should go.
Yeah.
Trust me, you definitely gonna be seeing the pitchforks and fire in front of the MSG. I can tell you that.
About it, with us as fans, we don't even look at the situation surround. Like Brunson could have broken a knee.
Right.
Randle could have fell down the steps. We didn't make it back. We still had enough. We still should have made it back.
Yeah.
You're
right. It all depends on the situation.
Maybe not for us fans.
Well,
hopefully Dolan will be able to see it that way. Sharon, I like Trey Murphy, but
going all out for him.
Yeah, if you can put up what you said earlier, I thought that was just too much for somebody on a rookie contract who's still learning and growing. Because I think it was IQ, Obi, RJ for Trey Murphy and the number 14 pick. It just seemed like a lot to me. If you could put it back up.
Really, Sherwin? Really?
No, but I mean, Trey Murphy is part of that core. I don't think New Orleans going to give up him, right? I doubt it. Any good player like that, and wings are hard to find in this league. And he is one of those top wings. And I don't think New Orleans is just going to just give him up just like that.
Staffa,
especially Willie Green. And that's one of Willie Green's core right there. So I don't think so. And he's young.
Staffa, he said Obi, IQ, and RJ.
No, the Knicks.
So it's not like
that's what he said. Can you?
I mean, if he said that. If he said that, that's us giving too much. That's not
New Orleans giving too much.
That's not New Orleans
too much.
No. But what I'm saying is, I don't think New Orleans gonna give him up for that, regardless. Period.
Oh,
that's one of their core.
But we wouldn't offer that either. So it's gonna be no problem there. We
right.
Murphy.
Yeah, I like Trey. I like Trey Murphy, but
I like him.
But if they would take him, I would trade him for RJ straight up. And I know that RJ has shown more in the league than Trey Murphy. I just love his two-way. I just love his two-way ability, man.
Much as I like Trey Murphy, there's no way they would trade RJ straight up for Trey Murphy. That is
You think that Trey Murphy? I don't think Trey Murphy is a better player than RJ right now. I just feel like he will be.
No, I'm talking about like from a PR standpoint. I don't see them trading RJ for Trey Murphy straight up.
Gotcha.
Just behind the optics of, like, we still the Knicks. Like, we're not gonna do nothing like that.
Right.
I don't see it.
But I still feel like he's a part of their core in the long run, and they not gonna just give him up like that.
Too. They paying Zion. They paying Brandon Ingram. I was watching something. Was it with Bobby Marks? And he said the 3 supermaxes that time is over. Having 3 players on like really, really high salaries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see, because Brandon Ingram, I think, is on a max or close to a max.
That's who I would
want. On a max.
That's who I would want, and we haven't really talked about him as an option because I don't think he'll be available though.
But he's just like a Chris Middleton too, injury prone also too.
Yeah, but as Ron pointed out, it's because of that injury that we might be able to get him a little cheaper. That's what Ron pointed out. I like Ingram, but I agree with you, Staffa. That
the injury is tough. You're right.
Yeah.
And as far as Cat and Embiid, this is the issue I'm having. I don't know why, like must be allergies or something. These 4s and 5s like Embiid, you can easily take them out of the game in a play. in the playoffs.
Bless you.
You could double team them. You could scheme them out because they're operating in such a small, part of the floor. So if at all possible, I would like a star wing, if at all possible. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Anyway, that's all I got. Unless you guys have something you want to talk about, or the chat has something that they want to talk about.
I'm sure the chat got something.
Salute to the chat, man. They've been on fire tonight, but they're not hitting the like button though. Y'all need to hit the like button.
Yeah, Ajay. Get him.
We're at 92, 151 watching me. Let's get that thing up to 100, 110, 120. Come on, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, make it happen.
We're not getting a fourth $100 million player without giving up at least RJ or Randle. Somebody's gonna have to go.
Yeah,
no
somebody
doubt.
got to go. That is true. Salute the old head. That's my guy.
Guys, and very straightforward. Very straightforward. I have
not
a
a twig of tough.
and I need a very simple answer, like a one-name answer.
Okay.
Back to what old head just said. If you have to, between RJ and Randle, one has to go. Who you letting go? Queen.
Oh, damn.
You didn't want to go first.
Just the name.
RJ.
Just the name. RJ.
RJ.
Jarrell, who you letting go?
Even though he played better in the
I'm
playoffs.
about to say, damn.
Who you letting go, Jarrell?
You can't come back to me. Why we got to go this way?
That's clockwise.
I'll say Randle.
I'll say Randle, but it could really go either way.
One name.
All right.
Staffa.
All right. Randle.
Okay,
Well, if I have to get rid of a player
between RJ and Randle, who you getting rid of?
between RJ and Randle, oh boy, that's rough. Y'all know I'm a 30 guy. Y'all know I'm a 30 guy.
And I do think one of them is leaving.
Oh boy, I think
For
I
what
think I
reason?
might I think I might have to part way with RJ, man.
Okay. I'd part ways with Randle.
Okay.
I'd get rid of Julius Randle.
Yeah.
It's
I
still
just
tough
think
either way.
that
Right now, Randle is the better player, no doubt. Obviously, he's all-star, all-NBA. He's the better player. But RJ is so far from being the best he can be. I would gamble on him more so than Randle.
Yeah, but
that's good.
but hear me out though, RJ. Hear me out, right? I just feel like once the ball go in and we could swing it and we could hit that small forward to hit that three, RJ is streaky. And if we could get that position solidified, we could knock down the three. I'd rather get rid of RJ than get rid of Randle, where we could get a bully in the paint and get it in the mud like that. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's gonna happen all the time, but I just feel like the weakness on this team is more shooting than getting points in the paint. But we could do that. I think we was tops in the league in getting points in the paint. So I just feel like, in my opinion, RJ, if as Queen said, if he could improve on that 3-point shot, I have no problem keeping him. But I can't wait that long for him to improve his shot, and we don't know.
That's fair point. Fair point.
Yeah, the issue for me is the shooting. If he was shooting, trade Randle.
Right, exactly.
I just feel like we need shooting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fair point. Fair point. Yeah.
But Sherwin, let me just tell you what Sherman said. It was iHeart, IQ, Obi, and a 2024 first round pick. Gee.
I don't like it.
For Trey Murphy.
Trey Murphy was it went like 16 or something like that. Was it 16 or 17?
I'm not sure. I know he was.
I know he was a first round pick, and I know he was in the teens, but I don't. That's a lot.
Really, Sherwin?
I mean, it is
a 14th pick, though. You're getting a 14th pick,
and
the 14th pick.
And the money wouldn't work either. So
Yeah, I like Trey Murphy though.
Yeah, I do too. He was the 17th pick. I just looked it up, but I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like that's a terrible trade if you really. It just depends on how much you really like Trey Murphy.
The Knicks is not doing that. The Knicks is not.
Yeah, I don't see them.
If New Orleans call with that, they hanging up the phone on them.
But it's not crazy though. I don't think.
Right.
Turns the ball over 5.
So that's like a 19 or 20 and 10 guy.
That's true.
What I find interesting though about your last question, especially Queen, is really what this front office has done is put together a team with a family dynamic, right? You've got Brunson and Rose and Thibodeau, and there's this it's almost like a tapestry interwoven of personal relationships. And so I think one of the reasons that the front office is kind of on the clock is those relationships are what is what holding this foundation together. And so with Brunson's stardom, it accelerated the timeline for this team. Brunson is entering his prime. It's not a situation where you've got, we can't wait 4 years for these Grimes and Deuce to become a good player. We need supporting cast now so that we can maximize what we have in a player like Brunson. And I think if you make the decision to get rid of any of the parties, whether it be Thibodeau, whether it be Rose, I think that directly affects Brunson, because one of the major reasons that JB came here was the relationship that he has with Leon Rose, with Tom Thibodeau. I mean, his dad is here. I mean, so all of this relationship stuff, I think, is underlying and underscoring a lot of what this is in ways that I don't think a lot of other teams necessarily have to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt about it. We were actually on our way out of here, Uncle Freezy, but we will allow you to say what you want to say before we get out the building.
Salute Freezy.
Salute Freezy.
Salute everybody.
We discussed earlier whether we should keep Tom Thibodeau and that.
I know. I was listening. I was listening. I was doing some.
What's up, man?
Hey, I'm chilling, boss. I was actually downloading the Just Nicking It podcast on Spotify. No doubt. So Queen Bee, when you see that jump in numbers, it might be just me, because I downloaded all of them, showing my support is what we supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But I heard for the most part a large majority of the conversation, and I don't necessarily come into to disagree or anything like that. I know that is in vogue in Knicks universe now. Just jump in and be a fire breathing dragon and all that stuff. I try not to do that. You know what I'm saying? I try to come in and add something to the conversation. So, but I heard the Trey Murphy part, and y'all already know how I feel about Trey Murphy.
I don't. How do you feel about Trey Murphy?
Oh boy, you said you was just about to leave. Now I gotta keep you here for 4 hours.
Keep asking Freezy questions.
Yeah, nah, it's the reason. Okay, so the reason why the term ham sandwich was born is because the Knicks had the opportunity to get Trey Murphy in the draft, and they chose to do that stupid trade with Charlotte where they moved their first round pick and got nothing in return.
Right.
And when they could have just used that first round pick to move up 2 spots and get Trey Murphy, and they did not. They chose
Quentin Grimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked. I think Grimes is going to be really, really good, but Trey Murphy would be perfect for us on that wing, man.
Yes,
I would like to have both of them.
I wouldn't mind.
We got Grimes at the 2 on the second unit now. Grimes at the 2 and Trey Murphy at the 3 on that second unit. I'm happy.
Yep.
But Freezy, then in that particular draft, every time we feel like we was going to get a player, that team took that player. That's why we end up doing that Charlotte trade.
No, they were trying to trade up to get. Remember, they were trying to trade up to get Chris Duarte.
Chris
Remember
Duarte,
that?
right?
And
was
we were
it
like,
13 or something like that.
Yeah, and we was like, why y'all trying to trade to get Chris? Y'all don't already have like a 90-year-old young player that don't get playing time, and y'all want another one? What are we doing out here?
Oh, I like Duarte going into the into the draft.
Yeah. I did not. I did not. I liked. I wanted all the long wings. I wanted BJ Boston. I wanted Herb Jones. I wanted Trey Murphy. I wanted all those guys that fit a niche. You know what I'm saying? That we couldn't fill, but instead we chose duplicity and comfortability over what could have been. But we made the second round, so I'm not griping.
It ain't too late now. It's just gonna cost.
God, see, Queen Bee, why you doing that to me? Why you getting my hopes up? Why can't we just let this ship go in the night?
Did you see what Sherwin said? Now Sherwin, he probably with you. Sherwin is saying it's gonna cost a lot. Sherwin is saying it's gonna cost iHeart, OB, IQ, and a first round pick for Trey Murphy and the 14th pick. I think that's a lot.
I think that's not enough.
What?
I don't think New Orleans ain't doing that. Why would the New Orleans give up a 50, 40, 90 player for IQ who gonna shoot about 40% from the floor? You know what I'm saying? They ain't, man, and a backup center, and a backup power forward, a backup center, a backup power forward, and a backup combo guard for a starting small forward that's 50, 40, 90.
But he's not starting though.
No, he would start for us, but he would start for us though.
Yes, he would. He would.
He better start for us.
Yeah, or you wouldn't be paying that price, right?
True.
He's not all the way there yet. But I saw flashes because I had him on my fantasy team. So when you have somebody in a fantasy team, I watch the box scores as well. But sometimes I like to watch them in games as well. And he's on his way. He's on his way. Yeah. No doubt about it.
He the reason why the Knicks gonna get Brandon Ingram this summer. Trust me. He the reason.
You think that he's that ready? I don't know if he's that ready.
I'll take it.
Okay. All right.
Give me BI. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Because New Orleans already know what Brandon Ingram can do.
Well, healthy BI gets us ECF.
A healthy one.
You think so?
Yes.
You don't think we would have beat Miami with Brandon Ingram?
No, I don't have a thought on it. I'm asking y'all. I don't really have a thought on it.
Absolutely. He is that dude. Yeah. He is that dude, in my opinion. And I've seen him in the playoffs. What was it, last year or the year before that?
Right.
Budding, coming into his own. I see him going on that tear to get them into the, to the play-in. Right. And I think you got Brunson and you got BI.
And he only 25.
Yeah.
Wow.
He can handle the ball. He can shoot the three.
Who would y'all rather have, BI over Trey Murphy?
Yes.
I would.
Easy.
Yeah, because BI got more in his bag.
Experience.
And I don't know if Trey Murphy is more of a guy that plays off of people. BI is a go-to guy.
Yeah.
True.
Trey Murphy is going to be Mikal Bridges with offense. Now, and I know people would
well right now.
But I know some people would probably prefer Devin Booker over Mikal Bridges. But I really like Mikal Bridges, man.
I like Mikal Bridges too, but
but Devin Booker is that guy.
You need those go-to guys. You need those go-to guys. But can you imagine Booker as the go-to guy and Mikal Bridges as the everything guy that, as we're seeing in Brooklyn, can also step in and score points for you. Like he's coming into his own.
But Queen, guess what, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're gonna complain it's too much ISO. Cause what Devin Booker play? ISO ball.
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, I keep telling, like how Jeff said earlier, You go to your strengths, then what the team can do. And Devin Booker is a great ISO player.
Right.
And we already complained that we don't swing the ball that much. So I mean, sometimes Knicks fans gotta choose what they want, man.
Hey, Staffa, they ain't gonna never do that, bro. Because when you do that stuff, you can't ever be wrong. That's why a lot of Knicks fans say that stuff. Because they throw out the moving target, so they can never be wrong in a conversation. Because if ISO, because think about it, we get to the second round, we giving, you know what I'm saying, we giving, like, we make the second round with what we got, right? Then they complain about that, right? And then if we'd have made the Eastern Conference Finals and lost playing swinging the ball around, it'd have been like, no, we need a star that we need a bucket getter. Well, you know what bucket getters do? Just like Staffa said, bucket getters, they ISO, they go get buckets. So regardless, yeah, that's why.
Is that all they can do? Like, is that all Booker can do? Like, can he hit a catch and shoot three? Can he pull up for three, off the dribble? Or is he someone that can only get his shot in isolation?
Well, are you talking about in terms of the team winning or in terms of how effective he is?
I'm talking about there may be times when we need to go to him to ISO. But if we're passing the ball and we're moving the ball and it gets to him, can he pull up off a catch and shoot?
I think so.
Yes.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. I just think he a bucket. You know what I'm saying? I think he and I think he's a bucket when he's hot, he's that ultra bucket. But in terms of a guy that can be that guy to help your team win, I mean, come on, they gave him Chris Paul. He had Mikal Bridges. This year he had Kevin Durant. I mean, what else does this dude? What else does he need?
Well, listen, I don't think that's not on him. Kevin Durant ain't Kevin Durant.
And DeAndre Ayton played like a shell of himself. He was
I mean, you can't put that on one player. They made their bed when Kevin Durant had like probably 2 years. He only played like 20 games. He injured himself on the layup line. I mean,
the line.
I mean, come on. I mean,
and you got to throw in the factor that they had no bench. You had Kevin Durant and Booker playing over 35 minutes each night.
Right, because their bench is in Brooklyn.
But what did Devin Booker do before Chris Paul and before Kevin Durant?
But he wasn't into his prime yet, though. And just because he didn't win a chip with them doesn't mean he can't help us get to the next level.
Yeah, man. I'm looking at Devin Booker's numbers. Give me Devin Booker.
I would.
His numbers and his game.
Right.
But would you think that would be a good backcourt? Booker and Jalen Brunson?
Yes.
Two
all-star backcourt. Yes.
No.
How tall is Booker?
6'5", 6'6".
Yeah. He that tall?
Yeah.
No,
you sure?
Yeah, Booker's tall. Booker's tall. He's 6'5", 6'6".
Oh, hell yeah!
Okay.
I didn't know he was 6'4".
Okay. I work with that. I mean, because Brunson has deficiencies in the defense, so I'm just thinking of that defensive philosophy.
Yeah, I would you.
With you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The way Devin Booker shoot the ball, he averaged 20. I don't care. He averaged 28. Devin Booker is one of the best two guards in the league.
Right.
Yes, get Devin Booker if you can.
Playoff stats are insane
They're
this year.
nuts. Like, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what he's been doing, especially this year. He was the best two guard probably in the playoffs before they got
easily. It's not close.
Yeah, I'd rather have SGA over him.
Fizzy.
Here we go, focusing on skill set instead of guys who are proven.
Hey, Queen B, I'm a smart person. I'm not a dummy.
I know you.
I know.
I'm not saying
I'm a person that do research. I just don't throw names out there. I
understand. I'm not trying to don't take that as an insult. It wasn't meant to be an insult.
No.
What I'm saying is Booker has been in the playoffs and has proven himself in the playoffs. And to me personally, I give that as edge over an up-and-coming guy who very well, when he get in high-leverage games like the player, may do just as well. But I'm going with the known quantity.
Yeah, I am too. I got
if I have to choose.
The known is Devin Booker has had all the help in the world the last 3 or 4 years, and he's at this place, right? Because the excuse is, well, he never had help. That was the first excuse. The second excuse is, well, Chris Paul got into the finals, but Chris Paul got hurt. And then this year, the excuse is, well, Kevin Durant wasn't enough to help this young fella. I mean, what else you need? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan? I mean, what else you need?
How do you know SGA would do better?
Yeah,
you talking about what? Because SGA and Chris Paul actually played together with a skeleton team and got a team to the playoffs in Oklahoma City.
Right, but the NBA is much different now and much tougher now than it was even when the Knicks went to the playoffs 2 years ago.
How long was that, Freezy? Not about 3-4 years ago?
Yeah,
no, longer than that.
When he was a Clipper.
Yeah. No, he played for OKC at one time.
He made the playoffs as a Clipper too.
1 year.
Yeah, he made the playoffs as a Clipper, bro. Jeff Wright.
Yeah, I hear you, Freeze. I mean, listen, reasonable people. This is my new saying. I got it from you, Freeze. Reasonable people disagree all the time.
If
I'm getting somebody in the playoffs that's performed in the playoffs, put him in the right situation, he'll be good. A lot of these guys haven't gone over the top. Look at Embiid. How many times have Embiid been to the playoffs? How many times have Paul George been to the playoffs?
You're right.
It just takes it. Is winning a championship is hard.
Right. You're right.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
you know, and
Steph Curry, LeBron James, or Giannis Antetokounmpo on your team, or Kawhi Leonard, you hadn't won one in the last 10 years.
Yeah, most of the players in the NBA are losers.
Right. So if that's the case, though, then why were we building a case against SGA with all the stuff that y'all just said like 60 seconds ago?
Because he's unproven.
Yeah.
He's less proven than Booker. So I hear your logic. Booker's been there and hasn't won it. Let's go with somebody who hasn't been there. Maybe he'll do better.
And Freezy, I get your point because he did. Did he make the play in this year with that team without the number one player that he had?
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
Okay, so I will go with that logic because because
he's doing more with less. He's doing more with less, and Booker is doing less with more.
Booker is playing his part. You can't look at his playoff numbers. He's doing his part. You want him to carry KD and Ayton? He's doing his part. When you watch a series, you can tell if it's the coach or a combination scheme, players not showing up. Booker did what he was supposed to do. He's gonna win it, but so he's the Brunson. He's supposed to win it.
You took the words right out my mouth.
The rest of the team, come on.
He ain't show up.
Okay, so here's the thing. If that is the logic, then why are we talking about bringing him here? if that's the logic.
The logic is the other guys didn't show up. So what you're trying to say that when he comes here, our guys not going to show up for him? They might not, Freezy, but that's a chance I would take. They might not show up for him.
Brunson going to show up.
I would like to pair him up for.
Yeah, I like.
Brunson is going to show up.
Yeah, I think Brunson is the best point guard in the NBA right now, bro. At the moment, I think he is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about people's resumes, what they did 5 years ago. I'm talking about right now in the middle of May of 2020.
Right.
Yeah, I think Brunson's the best point guard in the NBA. And if you pair him with a SGA type player that can do stuff off the ball while Brunson, my deal is when Brunson is cooking, what is Booker going to be doing? Right? When Brunson is cooking, SGA can play off the ball and do other stuff, facilitate away from the ball. He'll still fill up the stat sheet. He's going to be the assists and rebounds and defense and all of that. He's going to do all of that stuff. Like in that last play of the game that a lot of us find as a moment of contention if SGA is in that spot that Josh Hart is in, I think we're playing the Celtics tonight.
If Booker's in that spot, we played in the Celtics tonight too.
If Booker's in that spot, we ain't go to 6 games.
Yo, I trust and believe.
I'm telling you, we putting a
Trust and
blowout of
believe.
Booker on there.
I
Playoff
mean, I'm good
Booker.
with SGA. I just think there's going to be a learning curve for him too. But my tops is Jaylen Brown, Booker.
Yes,
SGA.
yes.
Wow, Jaylen Brown?
You don't like Jaylen Brown?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, Jaylen Brown, to me, I feel like you can argue. Listen, I was watching that game last night. I'm like, what the fuck? What is Tatum doing? Why does Brown have the ball in his hand all the time down the stretch? Why you not going like Randle used to do?
Right.
Clapping for the ball. What are you doing?
Hey, and Queen B, you know what? While we watched that too, I was watching that, and IKBM Dre was telling me about stuff too. So I made sure I watched certain stuff. Hey, my thing is, just because you put a lot of talented players on a roster, don't mean they can win together.
That's true too.
That's the reason why I prefer SGA over Booker, because I saw Booker on talented rosters that didn't win, right? Whereas I know SGA does a whole lot of other stuff. Like those defensive assignments that Quentin Grimes, SGA picked some of those up, and Grimes and SGA can split that half and half. Now Grimes can be a more balanced player. Now you elevating the other parts of your team. Devin Booker ain't get ready to guard no Jimmy Butler for no. He'll guard him, but that's not gonna be his matchup. Jaylen Brown, however, now we see.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown.
But Freezy,
me.
The only thing about Jaylen Brown, don't be surprised if he goes to Houston with Ime Udoka, right. and then Harden follows, because that's the plan down there for Ime Udoka to have a good team. And then they might try to trade Jalen Green.
May I say something to that?
Go ahead.
If I may, because you have an excellent point. But I would say to you, Staffa, don't be surprised if Jalen Brunson goes to Utah and reunites with Will Jalen
Green? You mean Jalen Green?
Jaylen Brown.
No, Jaylen Brown.
Oh, Brown. Okay.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown from Boston reunites with his assistant coach in Boston, Will Hardy, in Utah, right? Because you never heard under this contention when Danny Ainge was there or when Will Hardy was there. You only heard the contention after Ime Udoka got fired, and then the Jaylen Brown just being disgruntled with this new regime, right? So I mean, I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised in either, because it's the NBA. I'm not going to be surprised when anybody goes, because we don't really have an inside. We don't really know how these players think on a daily basis. So when a guy goes somewhere, you can be like, yeah, I can see that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him reunite with Will Hardy, so Will Hardy can continue taking Jaylen Brown to the next level, bro. And quite honestly, I think Will Hardy should have got that Celtics job over the dude that's there now. You know what I'm saying? But the dude that's there now is a Brad Stevens pick versus Will Hardy, who was a Danny Ainge pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just food for thought. You know, he may go to Houston, right? But I'm just saying, man, don't be surprised, bro, because we know bits and pieces, but we don't know the entire puzzle. We're just speculating off the little bit of information.
Right. Just speculate, exactly.
So
if it makes Boston worse, I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too.
Word.
Yeah.
No doubt. Anything else, before we
listen to the Queen Bee's audio podcast on Spotify and everywhere that y'all get. Subscribe to click on the button, subscribe to her stuff, because I'm listening to some of her stuff as I walk around the house. Man, if y'all not subscribed, y'all missing out, man. You're not doing her a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not listening, man. Y'all got to go out, download the Queen Bee stuff. When she put the stuff out there, man, click on it. Support. It helps grow the conversation
Right.
in a lot of different ways. So support.
I'm trying to get to 1,000 downloads. It's gonna by September.
BIM.
Trying to get to 1,000 downloads by
Get it, people. Let's get it.
Or at least now, obviously, 1,000 downloads collectively from all the podcasts, not one.
Right.
But we'll take them how we get them, though. But we'll take them how we get them.
You want to do it on one? She won't complain.
Yeah. So I'm trying to go twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Is what I'm trying to do. I got a nice piece coming out on Thibodeau and NBA coaching overall on Monday. What I'm trying to do, like the panel shows is good, but you can't get into your bag the way you want to get into your bag because you gotta let Jarrell speak.
You gotta pass the mic.
You gotta let Ajay speak. You gotta pass the mic.
Yeah.
You know? But when you're in the podcast, you just flip that switch.
Let it flow.
And go.
Just you and your thoughts, man. That's it.
It's open gym. Just you. Just you. Yeah, hey, Jeff, you ever been on a road trip? You know how you get in a bottleneck, you be in traffic, you be in like T-neck somewhere, and you're like, dang, man, if this traffic will open up, and then you get on that stretch of highway where it's just you and the radio in the road.
Right.
That is what the audio podcast is like, y'all.
Yeah.
Like when you
I live in West Texas. That's what we have, y'all. We don't have traffic. We just have the open road.
They ain't got no traffic.
Yeah, so basically, no, Uncle Freezy, I have no idea what you talking about. Yeah, but I get it.
No, he understands the open roads because that's all they have.
That's all they got. Yeah. So support and Queen B. I ain't trying to spam your joint, but support Queen B. Support Queen B, man. Y'all download, show some support, man, because some platforms that we're gonna do are gonna be better for you, the listener, than others. Like some of you prefer YouTube, but some of you may prefer that Spotify download where it's just you can listen to all the things back to back and like in a serial kind of way where things are like back to back and you kind of get a flow for it. So support Queen B.
Yeah, and that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Index, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Deezer, Listen Notes, and Player FM. So wherever you get your podcast, it doesn't have to be Spotify. Wherever you get your podcast from, I'm there. It's called the Just Nicking It podcast. And I actually put the link to my last show. It's pinned to the top of the chat.
Okay, cool.
That last show was fire, y'all. Y'all need to check it out if you haven't.
Yeah,
awesome stuff.
I appreciate that. I listened
to it too.
Yeah. What's the now? Jeff said the music in the back because I'm trying to decide should I go with the background music or no? Take the background music out.
I'm usually a no music dude.
No music. Jeff
definitely. I think it was pretty cool when you had it. I'm like, hold up, is that a little music in the background? I think it was good. It wasn't too loud. It didn't interrupt what you were saying.
No, you
came out clear. So I mean, listen, you can't be like everybody. You can't be like everybody, Queen. You're different, okay? Don't study Jarrell and Jeff. You do your thing. I like it like that. Leave it just how it is.
Yeah. No, I was just going back and forth thinking about it, and I thought it was too low. I'm like, you could barely hear it.
No, that's perfect. That's just perfect how you have it. Leave it just like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, any last words? Sherman is with you, Freezy on SGA.
Yeah. How open are you to suggestions for your podcast? Show ideas.
Yeah.
What I was gonna suggest is, if y'all out there listening, I know like the YouTube listeners have they favorites that they listen to, whether it's Uncle Freezy, whether it's Queen B, whether it's somebody else, whoever it is. Hey man, if y'all hit us up with ideas like on social media, like on Twitter, like hey, have y'all ever considered speaking about this such and such topic and drilling down and peeling back the layers on such and such topic? Like a topic we rarely talk about is why Quentin Grimes doesn't shoot as much as he does in a game. You know what I'm saying? Things like that.
Something different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as opposed to us firing Tom Thibodeau every show. You know what I'm saying? Or as opposed to us trading Julius Randle every show. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, hit us up on social media, bro. I mean, for the most part, we are very, very genuinely nice guys and gals. You know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? When you present us with certain things, some of it, you know, we can do it. And some of it, we just need time to format what it is that you say to us in a way that makes a dope show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We just need time to kind of parse it, dissect it a little bit so that we can ask the right questions to get down to that point that you guys want us to talk about. So my bad, Queen B. I ain't mean to take over the last.
No, that's fine.
Queen, tell them your Twitter handle, and also you too, Freezy, so they could send their questions in or just leave their questions in the comments.
Yeah, let me put it up. But it's BK Steph 33. Let me put it up.
Yeah. And listen, I'm at Big Freezy on everything. Y'all know the vibes. Y'all know where I'm at. Yo, I'm so you know, for the most part, y'all DM me the cutest little thing. Staffa, guess what somebody DM me the other day? Did I tell you what they DM me the other day, boss?
No, sir. You did not.
I saw the DM. I was like, this name look unfamiliar. I don't know if I should open it. And I opened the DM, and it was a picture of a ham sandwich.
Oh my God.
so okay, all right, I get it. I get it. People do.
This is for Freezy, because Freezy this is you, Freezy. Why Randle doesn't hold defense unless a shot is falling. That's a good one.
Yeah. That's something we should probably talk about. That's something we could probably talk about on the neighborhood. If y'all missed the neighborhood today, man, we usually do Thursdays. It's usually every other Thursday, like it's either here or over on Lawrence Tears or wherever it's at. But today it got contentious a little. I was like, the queen is coming for my throat. Hey, Ajay, I almost slipped out a cuss word and like, yo, relax, get off of me, queen, get away from my throat.
Yeah, I was a bit too hyped. Yeah, no doubt. Nothing personal, Freezy. Nothing personal.
Ajay, I almost said my code word. You know how you have a safe word? I started to scream. I started to say pineapples. Pineapples!
I've been watching Chicago PD, so that's relevant. That's relevant right there. What's the safe word?
Yo, that was.
He's trying to blame everything on Coach Thibodeau's offensive sets. I'm like, can we hit a shot? Can we hit a shot over here?
To it, man. That was good. That was a good show this afternoon.
I just started watching it too. I didn't get to finish.
But it's I had to concede. I think the criticism of Tibbs has been fair. I just don't think he should be fired.
But nobody deserves all the blame. Nobody deserves all the blame.
I think y'all should stop arguing with coaches about coaches. Steph is a coach.
Right.
Not saying that she's just gonna agree with everything Tibbs does, but
right.
She ain't gonna want no coach fired just for players missing shots.
I just feel like
she's not gonna go for that. She's a coach herself.
Yeah, when I do my podcast, I'll talk a little bit about my experience. I think that's part of it, because when Nick Nurse got fired, who the hell? I don't know Nick Nurse. I was like,
she's mad.
God. Nick, why did
I don't give a damn about Nick Nurse.
Jarrell, she was pissed.
She was hot.
She was
you know the roster is full.
Coach, I mean, you can't have a down season in the NBA. My goodness.
I noticed that basketball coaches not stick up for each other, but they feel it. Like Simeon,
it's a fraternity.
That's why Sim don't want Tibbs gone.
The same way.
Coach. Like,
yeah,
but you acknowledge the mistake. I think as a coach is that you've been through it, where you've made. I can't listen.
Let me tell you how it's a fraternity. You see when David Fitzdale got fired,
right?
You got Doc Rivers, you got Spoelstra, you had the whole coaching fraternity at the Knicks net for firing this guy.
Right. And he wasn't even you know, a great coach. I just think more goes into
Damn, Queen Jarrell. You see how she had to push it out.
Yeah,
he wasn't even a great.
he
He was the worst of us, but he deserved a chance.
He had to try real hard to get
Good
out.
question.
he wasn't even a great coach.
When Tibbs, I mean not Tibbs, when Fizdale got fired, did you want him fired before the fact?
Let me tell you
because if not, that says everything.
I thought that the Knicks was unfair to Fizdale.
See, I told you.
Now, I'm not saying he was a great coach. I'm not saying he was a great coach, but he was doing what the plan. He was carrying out the plan him and the front office talked about, which is focus on development and not on winning.
Yeah.
It pissed me off because there was a game that we could have won. RJ was shooting like 2% from the free throw line. He put him in there. Oh, he need the experience. I mean, yo. The roster is bad already. You're going to lose your fair share of games without trying to. You know, he was using the games as a scrimmage. I'm like, yo, the roster's already pared down. Just try to win. You ain't, but just try to win. So that irked me. But I felt like the front office turned on him.
Yeah,
all of a sudden now they just turned on him. Now they treating him cold. They not talking to him. Yo, he's doing what you said. Focus on development and not on winning. Now you're gonna turn your back on the guy. I didn't like that.
And they had a big press conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
You rolling out a Division II college basketball team. Come on.
Noah Vonleh was your point guard. Emmanuel. Think about those dudes that were starting for him are no longer in the NBA. Think about all his starters. Where are those starters at right now?
ISO Zoe.
Yeah. Right. I was like, they did him dirty, but he wasn't a good coach. Though. It would have been better if he was trying to win, though.
Seriously, though, is any one of those starters still in the league?
RJ might be the only one.
No, besides RJ, like Noah Vonleh. I thought I saw him somewhere this season.
Yeah, he was in Boston, and then I think he floated around a couple places.
Just because you're a starter in one team, that don't mean you should be a starter in the NBA.
Right. And then it took him forever to name his starting lineup. Yo, you ain't even got nobody. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and just put him out there. Oh, I don't know who to start. Oh, man, should I start this one? Oh, should I start? I'm like, listen, consistency and stability is important. Just pick a team and put them out there. You can always change it 15 games into the season.
Queen Bee, I think they thought they was getting Zion. And I think they thought they was getting Kevin Durant. And when they didn't get those two and they looked around, it was like RJ is all we got. Nah, we got to change course. Yeah. And they sold him. They sold David Fizdale out. Now, was he a bad coach? Yes. Right. But they should have at least let that man finish the season.
Right. 10 games?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't like Fizdale, by the way. I was never a Fizdale fan. I felt like we should have plucked Juwan Howard off that staff when he was an assistant coach with the Heat.
Yeah,
Mike Miller didn't do a bad job though.
Yeah, I thought Mike Miller did a good job also.
No, because
he was a sitting duck. He wasn't gonna get that position.
You're comparing Mike Miller to Fizdale. That's why you think he didn't do a bad job.
That's true.
Anybody replace Fizdale would.
Yeah.
And who was next? Was it Fisher or Hornacek? Or that was before?
That was before.
I don't remember.
That was before.
That was before.
Let's not talk about those two staff.
Yeah, before Fizdale.
They was before. So who came after Fizdale?
Mike Miller, and then Tom Thibodeau.
And then
Thibodeau. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I felt like they should have. They picked a guy that was safe, but I think they should have picked Caleb Canales. I think the way they did Caleb Canales, man, this dude had all this time developing Damian Lillard in Portland, and then he comes here. I think the only reason why he was not the guy is because he was basically too nice for New York. You know how like people are genuinely nice people, and you feel like if you throw them in a shark tank, they won't survive. I think that's the only reason why the Knicks didn't give him that coaching job, because the pressure of it's in terms of offense goals, in terms of offense, Caleb Canales, come on, bro. Come on. I don't even know why Keith Smart was even the associate head coach. Caleb Canales should have been in your. Y'all remember Keith Smart?
Mm-hmm.
The dude that broke RJ Barrett jumper?
Yeah.
He broke Kevin Knox jumper. You know what I'm saying? It took years for Anyways, man, I ain't ready to get into that
nicks and bruises. That's what that's called.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. Any last words before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Salute to everybody. Salute to the chat. Now we do
chat,
Thursdays.
Yeah, and hit the like button on your way out if you haven't already done so. Hit the
I can't wait until the Jets crush the Giants. Let me just put that out there.
I'm gonna remember you said that week 8. I can't wait, Staffa.
Let's get it. Let's
You
get
better
it.
win too.
Yeah, you better win the way
You
y'all.
know, you got your 50-year-old quarterback. Y'all better.
Oh, why you gotta be 50? Why you gotta be 50?
He ain't 50. He's
Steph ain't gonna be the only
47.
one
You
that
trying
needs
to age that man? That man 47. She trying to make him be 50.
Yeah, 47, 50, about the same.
About the same.
All right, the disrespect. We gonna see week 8.
Same generation, like 2 generations ago.
Hey, and a Bears fan said that too, by the way. We're not gonna win a game until next year.
Y'all don't look that bad though. Y'all better than y'all was last year.
Without a run, we the only team without a running back, bro. How do you not have a running back in the NFL?
Because your quarterback is a running.
Justin Fields. Anyway, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, he'll be a backup for the Titans next year. Trust me.
Anyway, I appreciate you, Jarrell, Jeff, Ajay, Staffa. Welcome back home, Uncle Freezy. Appreciate you guys. Peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so.
Where you at?
Don't so.